Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. Well, we are lucky enough. We're bellied up to the bar today. It is the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame induction weekend. We've got some opportunities here. We all know Big Bill Apter. Well, Bill's not here, so he sent his what's that term when somebody else stands in for you for your wedding?
Flunky.
Well, here, let me get your sound up here. Flunky's always a good term. Here, let's see. Let's try that. Talk again into the mic.
Flunky.
There we go. So now everybody can hear Flunky. So joining us from the magazine used to be Professional International.
No, Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So joining us from Pro Wrestling Illustrated is
Bob Smith.
Bob. Glad to have you here. I'm going to edit your name. You're not Sean. I don't know why it's saying Sean. You didn't have like a wrestling name or nothing for all the years of being with the magazine.
You would think I would change my name right when they hired me, but no, I stuck with my own name. I had a name as a sports writer first. I worked from upstate New York. In fact, I'm originally from Catskill, New York, which is like 30 miles from here. Yeah, and I was a sports editor of the paper there, and I did a lot of work with Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Our newspaper office was directly across the street from where Tyson used to train at the Catskill Boxing Club, little town, and I could go in and out of there. I got to know everybody, and I started feeding quotes to the Associated Press, and my career started to kind of move up a little bit. Within 18 months of all that stuff, I was working for Pro Wrestling Illustrated and writing some boxing articles for magazines like KO and stuff like that. But no, the PWI thing was a total fluke. It was a 2-line ad in the New York Times. I got the job instantly, and it's kind of made my whole life since then because I can't shake this wrestling stuff. I left wrestling for about 35 years. Somebody else called me to do a podcast in 2021. I did it for the full year. Started my own called The Outdated Wrestling Hour last year. Now I'm going to go into my third year next year in January. So I can't shake this wrestling. I'm an old fart, and I can't get out of this stuff. I must be doing something right. I hope.
Well, I was going to say you got to be having something right going on if they keep calling you back. So, what year did you start with the magazine?
1988. Working with Bill Apter, who was supposed to be inducted here today, a special award. Unfortunately, he is ill and cannot make the event today, but he's still going to be inducted, and they'll have some stuff up the road with him, I'm sure. But half the reason I was here to come and see my old friend, and also to come back here to Albany. I haven't been in Albany probably 21 years.
Did you get any tiny hot dogs while you were here?
No, where are they?
Well, you always got Hot Dog Charlie's,
and
then you got Famous Lunch, and then down in Watervliet you got Gus's.
I've been to Gus's a bunch of times back in the day. Yeah,
I love Gus's. I'm a big.
Yeah, those are excellent.
Well, that's always the big debate as I'm sharing this with all the different groups that are out there. That's always the great debate is who has the best tiny hot dog.
The best Albany hot dog.
The best Albany tiny hot dog.
There is something different. Do they still make Tobin's First Prize Frankfurters?
I don't. You know what? I don't know because I've never had them. I moved here in 2009.
Well, remember, I'm older than the faces on my coins, so it's like. I go way back to when in Albany they used to advertise Tobin's First Prize Franks and Belinsky Meats, sandwich meats.
Oh, Tobin's is the one in Schenectady.
Right, I think so, right.
Right next to the train tracks. The train tracks are just above them. So I know where you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I've eaten there before, but no, I don't. I'm assuming they still make them because now that you say it, I know who you're talking about.
But that's what I grew up on, and that's what I used to eat at the Washington Avenue Armory here back in the 70s and 80s when I used to go see the old time WWWF here in Albany.
Back when it was still very localized to areas. And
yeah,
it's funny is I was just having this conversation with my oldest son. He's 31, and we were talking about this, and I was like, yeah, a lot of these guys, because this being the International Wrestling Hall of Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, I was like, it's very different than when you think of WWE, WWF having their Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he was, he was a kid. He watched the stuff that came on TV, but he wasn't really aware that there was these different areas where guys only wrestled in different locations, and then maybe you would share a guy.
Right.
Like the big one was always Andre the Giant would come into certain areas at different times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Covering those things, how was it covering, because you were there for, they were in different sections like that, how was that to cover?
Well, we called them territories back then, right? And you had Jerry Lawler in Memphis and those guys. You had the NWA down in Georgia and the surrounding states there. You had Mario Savoldi up here in the New England area and New York. You'd have the Florida. You'd have Calgary. You'd have California. You'd have, I'd say there were probably, when I started with the magazines, probably still about 25 to 30 working territories. Yeah, absolutely. But I noticed the longer I stayed there, the more they started, like Portland died, Continental died. There were so many that they were just falling apart one by one around after 1984, because that was the expansion of the WWE. That's when things really changed. When Vince said, "I'm going to put my TV on all over the country, and I don't care who else is on," it changed the whole wrestling business. And on top of it, you had cable TV taking hold,
Right?
Where part of the thing that made the magazines.
Ted Turner grabbed that piece once cable TV.
Right, exactly.
Ted was a big influence on that.
But cable TV, I think, is one of the things that killed the wrestling magazines, because back in the day, if you wanted to read about a wrestler like Ric Flair and you lived in New York, you couldn't see him.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you could see the AWA, the NWA, the WWE, Mario's promotion, on and on, world class with their Von Erichs and stuff like that. So you could see everyone. And you didn't really need the magazines to see them anymore and learn about them. So that was one of the contributing factors, I think, to how wrestling magazines kind of got whittled down over the years. And now I think PWI is the only regularly scheduled United States pro wrestling magazine. That's it.
Done.
That's all it is.
The only thing that's left in town. I mean, that's interesting. And so in your travels then with the magazine, how were you able to kind of cover those different things, to be able to say, hey, how did you do that?
2 words: Bill Apter. Bill Apter was such a gadabout, and everybody in the business seemed to really love the guy and trust him. That was the main thing. He started in the business in 1971. Okay, that's a long time ago.
Yes.
So by the time I got there in 88,
3 years ago,
he was ingrained as part of the wrestling business, as someone you could report things to. So they would send us results. He would contact J.J. Dillon or Jim Cornette or anybody else that's working around the country, and they would send the results of their leagues to us. And we would also get videotape from every promotion we get together. I watched every frame of that stuff. I really did. Then we had indies where we were, and everybody, I remember every Monday we used to do the ratings and get phone calls from all over the country. And I can't think of a promotion that didn't contact us, except maybe Indianapolis or something like that. But it's Bill Apter. And he would hire the freelance photographers as well as our own photographers, and we would collect these photos every week. And we would sit down, regardless of what magazine it was that week, and he would say, Al Perez just won the World Class Championship. Here's what's going on with the Four Horsemen. Let's do this. Let's do an article on that. So if it wasn't for Bill, there would have been no PWI, no Inside Wrestling. And our company published Inside Wrestling, The Wrestler, Sports Review Wrestling, PWI, and we did about 17 different titles all told. And it was crazy. It was hard work, but I loved every minute of it because I was into it.
Well, now I'm going to ask about this because I'm curious. How did the magazine address, which to me is what changed wrestling itself? The Vince McMahon interview where he let loose the kayfabe.
Oh,
how was that? How did something like that's your bread and butter?
Actually, it goes back further than that.
Oh, really?
One day I'm picking up a hard roll at the local deli, and I look down. They sell newspapers. I look down and I see the New York Times. And there's a headline on New York Times. This is 91. Forgive me if the year was wrong, but it said, WWF admits pro wrestling is fake. That was the headline on the front page of the New York Times. I bring this back to my publisher, Stu Sachs, and I said, Stu, you got to read this. I haven't really looked at it yet, but let's. And he grabbed the paper from me, and he went white as a sheet, because that was the beginning of the end of kayfabe right then and there.
Right.
When you go to the governor of New Jersey and admit it's all predetermined because you want to save money on state athletic commission fees, you just let the cat out of the bag. And then the other thing, like you mentioned, the interviews with McMahon and other things that happened around that. There was, the early 90s were really controversial. I'm glad we all had news backgrounds. Our writers used to write for real newspapers, and we weren't just wrestling fans. I worked for newspapers, and so did a lot of other people. I'm sorry? Yes.
Yeah, we're live. You're good, brother. Don't worry about it. We're live.
But excuse me. So where was I?
So going to the commissions and admitting.
We were, a lot of us were trained real journalists. I won journalism awards before I started with BWI. Dave Rosenbaum, Craig Peters, real writers. I mean, really good news writers. And we had drug scandals, and we had steroid scandals, and we had referees claiming rape, to be honest, and all this other stuff that was going on. And we had to put our news hats back on. It wasn't all.
So it changed, it changed how you reported.
You seem very young, so you probably remember the meat and potatoes of the London Publishing was an article like Tito Santana's hidden heartbreak or something like, because he didn't win a title. It was all kayfabe stuff.
Right.
All made up bullshit. But that's good, because made up bullshit when it was good was good.
Right. It's sold.
Right. Yeah. So. No, we got to put our news hats back on a lot. I remember, there was an incident where Hacksaw Duggan and Iron Sheik were pulled over for, I think, sharing a boob in a car, and they were in a feud at that same point. So, everything, all the cracks were started up. I don't think it hurt the business as much as poor product did, to be honest with you, and oversaturation.
Well, there's definitely that. I mean, there was a point where I think probably the greatest thing they ever did to help wrestling. Let my brother jump on. This is all live. My brother jumps on and says he's not that young, but you are way older than I am. Keep that in mind. But it's interesting that you mentioned that. I mean, I think the greatest product that they ever put out that really changed the game for me was Saturday Night Main Event.
Right.
Like that was great. But I think they got caught up. I mean, obviously I'm wearing a comic book t-shirt right now, and I'm a comic book fan. They got caught up in what, for the comic book world, we call the Chromium Age, which is chrome covers and big flash pages and big things like that.
I'm so old. I'm a Silver Age guy, man.
Silver Age.
I bought Silver Age books.
Off the rack.
Excuse me. Silver Age books.
Silver Age books off the rack. That. There we're back now. But it's interesting to me because I think comic books got caught up, or wrestling got caught up in that same thing. Like, hey, we'll bring the Ultimate Warrior out in hot pink and flashy ribbons. Who was the Dingo Warrior? Now he's hot pink and flashy and all these kind of things. When did that? What do you think was the other side of it for them? Because right now I think they're in a stable point. They're kind of like, wrestling is what it is. But what do you think was the jump the shark moment?
When things really went downhill. I think I'll go back to what I said before. Really lousy product. I mean, McMahon got really desperate in his promotional tactics around 91 with Papa Shango and the guy, what was his nails from prison beaten up. And so you would have ice cream bar ads along with spooky guys being set on fire in the ring and guys vomiting on TV and
the acolytes. Yeah.
Well, no, that was long before that stuff. But I'm just saying that, when things went down, it went down with our magazines too. People stopped buying the magazines too. And that was a three-edged sword because you had the sheets coming into vogue at that point.
Okay.
So we had cable TV, the sheets, all this other factors, not to mention the fact that people stop reading magazines. You ever try to buy a magazine now? They're $15 and nobody buys them.
Right. Or they're, or somebody who advertises in magazines, the cost of it is, hey, we only do it quarterly. Your quarter page ad is $1,500, and you're like, and I'll get once a quarter. Oh yeah. And we're very localized. They're super localized.
Yeah.
I just heard this the other day. You might not know that. There's more magazines in print today than let me turn your headphones up. It's getting kind of loud in here, folks. That's a good thing. That's why you should all be coming down to the MVP right now to the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame meet and greet. The dinner is tonight. There's some raffles going on, so make sure you're coming down. You can see me. You can see, the Godfather, Papa Shango. You got Dan Severin is here. Tito Santana, Tony Atlas, Kayla Sparks sitting right next to me. Somebody who's been on the show multiple times. Fox Vineyard is in here. So make sure you're coming down and checking everything out. But did you know that there's more magazines in print today
Yes.
than ever?
And there's a reason for that.
Why is that?
They're all a niche. Walking, running, dogs, cats,
Yes.
news, sports is a niche for everything. Kayaking. No, I'm serious.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you.
Nobody's got a huge circulation, but you can make money if you hit and wristwatches. You can make money in the magazine business if you feature content they can't get anyplace else, even the internet, and that's a hard thing to pull off.
Well, that's podcasting. I mean, to make a little bit of a left turn for a moment here, that's podcasting today. I remember when I started mine, I was like, no, I'm going to do a show on who people are, what they do, and what makes them great. It'll just be like a general, you never know. Like our guest this past week on Wednesday was our Air Force colonel who owns Prepper Ranches. It's a franchise. People were like, you have to just talk about that. I'm like, no, I'm going to be at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame on Sunday. They're like, no, but it's tough nowadays to do general stuff.
It is.
But the magazine was a niche.
Right.
Is it making any kind of a comeback? Are we seeing anything?
Yeah, I'm not with them anymore. I haven't been with them since '95. I mean, I go way back. But I was with I worked with WCW for a while, when Colin Bowman owned WCW magazine, and I worked with Apter and a couple of other titles. But yeah, PWI is making a comeback. You know why? It's good. It's just plain good. They're covering everybody from Roman Reigns to him over there. Whoever it is.
Right. Whoever they can.
Every federation that they can get information on, every young piece of talent that their editors look at and say, he's good, let's write about it. That's what I like about the new PWI. They will write about somebody nobody's ever heard of because they're good. In a way, that's what I used to do. I used to write a feature called Introducing. I gave the first publicity to Rob Van Dam. I gave the first publicity to Sid Vicious.
RV.
Yes, a lot of people like that. Dustin Rhodes, you can go down. Of course, he would have gotten publicity anyway. But there was a lot of people, and I was 75% right. When I picked one out of a lineup, they would usually become stars. 25% of the time, they get their article, and then they kind of fade.
Well, what was it so that's interesting because you know what? There still is a fan base for people that want to go out and they want to see the Fox Vineyard and say, hey, man, I got to see that guy at the local armory or at the local place. There's still a market for that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story. Rob was using, I think it's his real name, Rob Sikowski. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In Memphis, probably getting $50 a shot, opening a card in Memphis, and I was there. And he's taken on Nightmare Danny Davis, a great old timer who was a great teacher too. These guys put on a doggone clinic, and Rob was just starting out. I go back and I go, that's the best opener I've ever seen. And Eddie Marlin goes, yeah, I think you're right. He was working in the U.S. everywhere. I go back to my office. I go, I got photos. You know where to get the photos. I got to do an article on this Rob Sikowski guy. And we did. And I will have you know, and this is not BS, I named the split-legged moonsault. He didn't know what to call his move.
I named it.
I named the move. That's
your claim to fame.
I bet he doesn't remember. I every time I mention it, I know he doesn't remember. Too many miles of going up.
Right.
Yeah. But when I was interviewing him on the phone after that, I'm back in New York. I go, what do you call that thing when you kind of split your legs and flip? He goes, I haven't come up with a name for it yet. I said, just for now, I'll call it a split-legged moonsault. He goes, that's good.
That'll work.
It works. And later on, I hear Jim Ross say those words. I go, what how did that happen?
You know, you missed your shot of trademark.
Well, no. That's not how the wrestling business works. You don't remember anybody.
But you know what? It's interesting because a lot of those guys, you know, that we're mentioning, you know, they started in these different promotions, and I've talked to other podcasters about this, and getting them on the shows and getting them back out in these opportunities. For us, it's a nostalgia moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I remember watching that guy. I remember seeing that guy go out and do these things. For the market today, though, you know, I think, you know, and I hope he comes after me. It would be great. I think Vince is done. I think Vince is so done. I saw him on TV the other day doing something. I think people are seeing behind that curtain.
Yeah.
Is there any of these promotions though? The other side to it is that machine in Connecticut is still juiced. Vince is done, but the juice is still
No,
there.
they are printing money. I mean, when you can go around the globe, fill a football stadium 2 days in a row, come on, it's unheard of.
But can anyone really compete? Because I used to like what was the one back in the '90s? You had Dr. Death. They used to do the ECW.
Yeah.
Like, is there anybody that can bring anything today, or is there any markets out there that really can compete with what they're doing?
That's a really good question. Excellent question, actually. I remember I was involved with ECW. You know, I was the first ECW TV host, too.
Were you?
Yeah, back when Todd Gordon put the organization together, they filmed some matches. They did a wraparound show for a cable access, and me and Todd used to host that show and do wrestler interviews. I was the first maybe 10 or 12 shows they ever did. I was on them. And somebody posted a couple on YouTube so I can prove it. So yeah, there you go. I had a big mullet back then.
There's evidence out there.
There's evidence. But I will say this. Yes, I think someone can compete as long as you don't compete. Here's what I mean by that.
Okay.
Don't ever think, and Tony Khan is included in this, you don't ever think you're going to pass the WWE because you're not. Nobody has. In 50 years, nobody's going to. That's it. It's over. But if you can put out a quality product that rings a bell with some people, on a regional level, I still think you can be a success. There's people, I was talking to, who was it? I just had him on the show. Bo James, down south. He's a wrestler who was wrestling when I was with the magazines in the 80s. He's still working, and he's had a territory of 3 cities all this time. So it can still be done. It can still be done.
Still doing,
and making money doing it. And I was talking to Jerry Jaffe, whose ring name was Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. Dick the Bruiser's organization ceased around 96.
Okay.
He told me they didn't go out of business. They ended the business. And they gave all the investors a big bag of money at the end of it because they saved it. So they were making money. They saw the NWA and WWF coming to towns and they couldn't compete with that.
Right.
So they said, let's just close up shop now. They just said, it's our time. It's over. So money is still there to be made if your product is quality. I think you know what I think is successful promotion, the next successful promotion? Calm down, stop being so corny, stop and present really good quality matches.
Thank you.
Shut the music off, shut the loudness off, forget the smoke pots, forget the dressing. Let's grapple.
Thank you. So it's funny you say that. And look, folks, if you're out here joining us right now, you have questions. We have Bob out here. I don't know why your name's not coming up. That's weird. We're out here talking. He was with Professional Wrestling Magazine. We're talking about his history. We're talking about the industry. We're out at the MVP Arena in Albany right now. There's talent everywhere. Let me see if I can flip my camera for a second. Look, folks, there's Tony Atlas. There's Kayla Sparks. We've got a little bit of everybody out here. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. But I want to talk about Ricky for a second because you just brought up having talent being successful.
Mm-hmm.
Randomly in my news feed the other day on Facebook, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Ric Flair in Japan match came up.
Okay.
And I've watched interviews with Flair talking about wrestling the Dragon. Those guys would go at it for 35, 45 minutes in a match.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe you know the answer is they might have the record right now for the oldest or the longest match in wrestling. Like maybe they do it. I don't know. I feel like it's in my head, but I might be absolutely wrong. But they wrestled the whole time. They moved the whole time. Maybe there was a hold held here and there,
right,
but it was movement, it was skill, there was talent involved. I tried to watch some of the newer stuff recently. It was 15, 20 minutes of guys coming out, walking, running off with the gums, smack somebody, the Hogan big eyes, you know what I'm talking about. And then finally they got to doing some moves, and they were good moves. They were, like I said, they were splash page moves. They were super high level, super up in the air. It was the chance. And I wonder, like, Can we ever get back to that? Is there a market for it?
That's the $1 million question. But you know what? I think wrestling fans are subtly trained by the promotions. If you watch AEW, you see a lot of flippy stuff. You're going to think that's wrestling. If you watch WWE and you see 20-minute walks to the ring and 45 minutes of interviews on every show, you're going to think that's wrestling. So they accept what they're given because it's colorful and fun. And I'm not saying anything is bad. I'm just saying it's different than what I grew up watching. Shoot. If you went to a Mario Savoldi card 35 years ago, it would be one ring in the middle of the ring, one big click light over the thing. They'd ring a bell and they'd start. That was it. So, and you know what? Filled the arena.
You talk about shoot wrestling too.
Right? Yeah.
Like I've watched matches with Tony and a woman doing shoot, and him catching a straight ass whip. She was putting hands on. I mean, those things are they dead?
No. Remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin said, before he was Stone Cold Steve Austin, just Steve Austin, and he was the ringmaster.
He was stunning Steve.
Stunning Steve,
and long hair.
No, this is when he first started with WWE, and okay. Doc Hendricks, who was interviewing, he goes, he'd just beaten Jake Roberts on a pay-per-view. He said, Austin 316 just whipped your ass.
Right.
That made his whole career.
Yes.
There's that one moment, that one definable thing. Becky Lynch with blood all over her face at the top of the arena, extending her arms. Made her career.
Yeah. There's chills as you're saying it.
Right? There is that one definable moment, either in a match or as a personality, that captures the interest of people and they don't let go for the next 20 years. Right? That's the magic of wrestling.
I just saw another interview. You talk about Austin. I saw one the other day. He was at a meet and greet, and this was years ago, and some kid walked up to him and asked him what he thought of, what was his name, wrestled with WCW. Asked him, hey, so what do you think of Goldberg? Have you seen this with Austin?
Yeah.
Where he goes, yeah, he's like, he seems like a nice enough guy. He does a poor version of me. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, but see, those I missed those things.
Yeah.
Like there was where you could kind of tell, like, obviously there wasn't real tension, but when the mic turned on, there was always that dig that you wanted to go see.
Right.
And I've sat down with my little guy, he's 7, and hey, come watch some wrestling. He'll watch it and he likes it and he enjoys it. But it doesn't hold his attention the way it held ours.
Right.
And I wonder about those things, like, how do you get to hold that attention again?
I'd hate to go back to the cartoony Hogan style of, Hulk Hogan era type of thing. That held kids' attention.
It did.
And sold ice cream bars. Do you know WWF ice cream bars were made for 20 years consecutively?
Were they really?
Yes, they were. I just researched it for one of my podcasts.
I remember those,
I did a wrestling food podcast once, and I needed a filler show, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I did this podcast, and I was researching all the stuff and discovered that they were 20 consecutive years. They just kept adding characters.
I didn't know that.
So they had the kid market. We
used to watch the cartoon. We loved the cartoon.
Yeah, the rock and wrestling and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, they had the songs. I think you can always thank the Super Bowl Shuffle for the song.
Yeah.
Because then everybody needed to have a song for a while there.
What, do you remember the video where everybody sang? I think it was the House of 1,000 Dances or Land of 1,000 Dances, and they all sang that song. But they put new lyrics on it.
I remember these things.
No. Bobby Heenan,
Bobby the Brain,
Freddie Blassie, Pencil Neck Geek.
Now you bring up another great point, and we got a young lady here, Gemma. She's 16 years old. She's considered as
where is this?
So she's
over here.
Over here on the left. You got to talk
to her.
You got to talk.
I will.
She's 16. Rita, the first ever female referee in WWE, is over there. There's Rita in her sweater.
I did not recognize her.
That's Rita.
Okay, all right.
And Rita's kind of training her on the wrestling world. But she's a manager, and that's a great card for her. It's a great position for her to play in, and I love when she does it. But I wonder, we don't have like the villains, the Bobby the Brain, the Captain Lou Albano.
I just wrote this.
Those guys. I think those guys are missing in this world. Also,
I just wrote that. Think of the talent, like the Karrion Crosses and
Yeah.
a bunch of other people who are
Paul
stuck,
Bearer.
who are stuck in that almost mid-cardish gray area. How would he be with a manager who could talk? He's got Paul Ellering. They never let him talk. I'll never understand that. But how would he be? How would Karen Cross or Lou Albano out there screaming on his behalf, or the Grand Wizard, or Freddie Blassie, or Paul Heyman, or this one,
Paul
or that
Heyman.
one, or Jim Cornette? Think about that.
We don't have that.
You put Jim Cornette next to anybody, and he's a star.
Yes. He's a amazing hype man. Or here's one for you. Do you remember a guy named Bob Starr?
Yes.
So Bob's from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Bob because he was going to be on every card in Baltimore. He only ever won one match. They randomly let him win a match. It looked like they were going to finally put him over, and he was going to be a talent. But that's another thing that's missing is all these young guys that we have here that are from the indie circuits are never going to be in a match where they just come out and Roman Reigns tosses them around, they get a couple good shots in, and then they have that ability to move on. Me personally, I think that's missing is having a guy like, and folks, we got Fox Vineyard right next to us. I'll have to ask Fox, wave on the camera, Fox. but having a guy like Fox who's local, he's an indie guy, but having him being able to go out and show up in Albany because, hey, the matches are in Albany. He's going to wrestle Roman Reigns. Roman's going to toss him around, but now his name's out there. Now he's a talent.
Right. But you know what? I think there's more going on than meets the eye.
What do you mean?
Every time you look at I have a friend who's a fledgling professional wrestler. He's been working about 5 years now in the Long Island area. He's been on WWE TV.
Has he?
Yeah, but he played a security guard.
Okay.
And Becky Lynch punched him in the face. Or one of the female wrestlers punched him in the face. So the big promotions know who the good indie talent is. They just take time getting him into the scene. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes there are late bloomers.
I just think
There's more indie talent on every WWE show. If you look at the guys that run to the ring, they're all wrestlers. They're all indie people.
Right, sitting in the back, yeah.
Back in the day, you'd be surprised who I can't remember this lousy wrestler. Not lousy gimmick. There's no such thing as a lousy wrestler, by the way. The gimmicks are lousy.
Well, the worst gimmick ever was when they did the clones. Do you remember the clones? Yeah. Like there was the fake Razor Ramon. There was the fake. Like that was the worst promotion.
But there was a guy, Adam Rose. That's who it was.
Okay.
Remember, he used to come out with this posse. They would all dance around the ring.
No.
You know who was in that posse? Damian Priest.
Okay.
A couple female stars from today. That's where they are. WWE will find you if someone goes to them and says, "Listen, this person is doing well. You should really take a look at him."
Just kind of holds on to them.
And just take time. It takes time. Nobody shows up out of nowhere. None of them. And Long Island, where my job is, I still work in sports media. There's a couple of small ones called Creative Pro. There's one called Victory. I think it's called Victory Pro Wrestling. They're great at churning out talent. MJF is from one of these organizations.
Really?
Yeah. From right in Long Island.
Michael J. Fox? I'm kidding.
Also, Chris Statler was from those organizations.
I don't remember him.
Chris Statler is a female wrestler now in AEW.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I don't watch it either. But anyway,
I don't.
I don't. I can either take suffering or leave it alone. I leave it alone. What bothers me about AEW, I know we're off topic.
Yeah.
What bothers me about AEW is it's a glorified indie show.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. They're taking wrestlers, good or bad, letting them come into a TBS and TNT national networks with the same cruddy guys as they had working a high school gym in front of 45 people. It doesn't work that way. Wrestlers need to be honed. They need to be led. They need to be managed. They need to be, there's a lot of diamonds in the rough, but they're never going to be stars if they come in doing what they did in the indies. It's not going to work.
Just doesn't happen.
The problem with AEW is, indies used to take their cues from the majors. Now you got the majors taking their cues from the indies. Bloody matches. Things are getting bloody out there.
Yes.
Right? And that's,
Dusty Rhodes always did that too. Like Dusty,
well, yeah,
Rick Flair, Ricky the Dragon. The blood thing was always there.
Yeah.
It was always there.
well, no, it wasn't, especially in the 70s when I grew up. Every magazine cover was full of blood.
Oh yeah, like there's the famous that thing is probably the most well known cover of the magazine.
Bobby Heenan,
with like
just a mask of blood.
just
Grossest thing you've ever
just
seen.
a hot mess.
Yes, you've seen it. But here's the difference between then and now, though. Superstar Billy Graham and bloodborne diseases. It's dangerous.
Okay.
You know, he got hepatitis to transfer of blood, the co-mingling of blood, they call it. It is dangerous to bleed on somebody,
Yeah, that we don't see it.
especially if there's an open cut involved.
Right.
If that blood intermingles and one guy is sick, you're both going to get sick.
No, I would agree with you there.
Abdul the Butcher and Devin Nicholson, he's here right now. There's another one. Hannibal.
Okay.
All right, he's in this room here somewhere right now, and he got sick. So aren't people learning from this? They're not, and it bothers me.
No, that you bring up a great point with that. I never even. I guess when I think about them, I think they're getting tested, they're getting taken care of, they're doing all the things they're supposed to. I never put that side of it together. Now I do have to ask you: have you gone inside yet and looked around the Hall of Fame?
Yes, the first thing I did knocked me out. Absolutely knocked
Is it
me
not
out.
the wildest stuff you've
It
seen
is,
there?
and the fact that it's a permanent addition to this building, phenomenal. For anybody hearing the sound of my voice, where's your podcast from? Where you're from?
We're here local. Yep.
You got to get out here to the MVP and see the Hall of Fame. Even if you can't make this weekend, you got to see this, right? It's
There's wild
phenomenal.
things in there.
Ric Flair and Harley Race, and you name a wrestler from the past, they are honored here, even if they haven't been inducted into the Hall of Fame. There's plenty of wrestlers who aren't. Bill Apter's book is in there. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can check out. You can actually look, reach, touch, take photos. You will not regret it, and the price is usually right. You just walk up here.
Yeah,
right?
you just kind of go in. They have a donation box, like,
Right.
hey, please donate. Like somebody was walking around with the Money in the Bank case. The real Money in the Bank case
Mhm.
is in there. There's one of Ric Flair's doggone robes. There's a robe
Right.
in there.
Right.
I want to say there's one of my personal favorite, and I'm almost sure it's in there. There is a chewed on turnbuckle from
George Steele.
George the Animal Steel, who that was always one of my things. And maybe you tell me if they covered this in the magazine. I always found it interesting when I found out what those guys did outside of wrestling. Like George the Animal Steel was like a math teacher or something like that.
He was a football coach and a teacher in the Detroit area. Yeah.
Which was like, here's a guy who's standing there acting like just an absolute
And
fool.
kayfabe was so alive then. His students would go, "I think I saw you on TV." He goes, "No, you didn't. Somebody else."
Yeah, no, it wasn't me.
"No, you didn't. Somebody else."
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute different animal for these guys. Eric will pose. Okay, but it was such a different thing. Vader was like a big real estate mogul.
Yeah.
Like this is what I used to always say. If you wanted to know if a guy really, to me, was a talented wrestler and had it figured out, is did I hate you even when it was over?
Right.
That was a skill. Now this is Gemma. Gemma, when you get a second,
Yeah.
I was just talking about.
Hi, Jim.
I was just talking about you, and when you get a chance, we'll get you back on the mic. She is the youngest manager in professional wrestling right now.
Okay.
16 years old and managing grown men.
Yeah.
Out at the ringside as a talent.
But you just made up an excellent point, especially where people my age are concerned. I went to a convention last year in Philly. I go to about one event a year. This is my event for 2024. But I went to a convention and they had all kinds of stars, Demolition and these guys, right? Only in pro wrestling will you see a guy my age walk up to a table just like this, right? Extend their hand, shake the hand of a guy, who goes, "God, I hated you, right? I hated you so much. Can I have your autograph?" When you hate someone, you hate them, and that's it.
Yes,
No, but you appreciate that hatred decades later.
absolutely.
Only wrestling does it.
Yes, I would. Here's one for you. Like it, I've met Rick. Talk about being in Atlanta. I've met Rick. So I used to work for a railroad company when I first retired out of the Marine Corps, and I met Ric Flair, and it was so interesting. I think he's still, even though we know the Fave is dead, there's parts of it that he still holds on to.
Mhm.
Like meeting him at this bar, I was like, hey, was a big fan, grew up as a kid watching you. I was a Four Horsemen guy. Like, look, man, like,
I had that jacket, by the way, and I lost it. I don't know what I did with it. The one that's in there? I had
Oh, did you?
one of the original Four Horsemen, and I lost it. I don't know what.
and it was so funny. It wasn't until I said to him, hey, retired Marine, just coming by. There's Orchid. Coming by, just wanted to say hello. Can I get a picture? And he goes, he didn't want to take a picture because he was in a bar. He didn't want that image, like of just him by himself sitting at a bar. This is Ric Flair, but he took the picture with me, and it was awesome to see. But he still held on to that piece. Now, you said you're still in sports, you're still doing stuff. Anything coming up? Anything where people, are you? I know you're covering for Bill right now, but
I'm not really. I was here to kind of help induct him, but he's not going to be here. No, my podcast is called The Outdated Wrestling Hour. Just type in Outdated Wrestling Hour in any browser. It's the easiest way to tell people how to get to your show. And we're in our second year. It's doing great. We've had wrestlers. And we're developing a little coterie of co-hosts that people are finding interesting, and they remember me after all these years. I wasn't even the editor-in-chief. I can understand if Bill Apter did a podcast with all these listeners. Who the hell was I? I mean, I was out there and I did some TV. I worked with Savoldi for a while and stuff like that. But I cannot believe the number of people that remember me from the 1988 through about 93. It's knocking me out. I don't understand it. Every time I've left wrestling too, my phone rings and said, "You want to write for me?" I must be doing something right after all these years.
Yeah. I mean, you said you won awards for writing. I mean, there must be something to this.
No, I'm a good hack. I'm a worthy hack. That's the way I've always put it. I don't like. I've had two different authors. I have authors on my show all the time. They say, "You ought to write a book." I said, "I can't," and they said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm a hack. I can write a 4-star headline right now and 8 graphs of copy to go with it. That's it. And at my age, I don't think I have the patience to sit down and research. I'm lazy. I got enough scratch. I don't even know. No, seriously, I don't think I need to write a book for reasons most people write it, which is to make money. I don't think I need to do it.
But you know what? What if you did now, I'm going to throw this idea out here because I love the idea of books and all those kind of things and those stories. But what about something that's just a compilation of stories? I mean, you got to have a million stories. Meeting these guys.
I do.
But now let me ask this.
But you know what? None of them are, here's the problem. None of them are the behind the scenes kayfabe secret revealing type of thing that sells now. All my stuff would be anecdotes about weird and funny things that happen on the road. Or
I think that's what people want.
You think? Because you know what?
Yeah.
There's one thing about my show. My show is an appreciation of old-time wrestling. I don't give a rat's patootie what happens backstage or who fought with who or who got busted for steroids. That's not what my show is about. My show is about being 16 years old, sitting at the Washington Avenue Armory in Albany, watching Bulldog Brower beat up Pete Sanchez, and the boots were shiny and the lights were bright, and there's no place else on the planet I wanted to be other than right there.
That's it.
That's my show.
But see, I think that's Orchid's out here. And look, folks, as Bob and I were talking, if you have questions, you want to know about wrestling, you want to know these things, or you want to know some behind the scenes stuff. Look, she says, write a book, share your story, because I think that's the other side
this
of
thing
it.
Is live?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Hi, everybody. I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't do recorded and then.
Oh, so we're on the podcast waves. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: is I truly believe that that's what people are looking for now, because I can go online right now and I can Google, stories and dark side of wrestling. I can Google that story. It's super easy.
Right.
Like everybody talks about that because everybody knows it. Look, she says it. She grew up on wrestling. Everybody knows those stories. But how many people tell the story of going to one of these guys? He's got a podcast. I can't remember his name right now. Brian. Brian's got a show. But who has a show or a book where it's sitting down with the guy who's now a pro wrestler and says, hey, what was the moment that set you up? That said, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I could be that guy. What was that? It doesn't exist. It's not a thing.
I knew a lot of the young guys back then. And I always say this, and I say too often on the show, but I'll tell it to you. I still think pro wrestlers are the greatest athletes on earth because you don't get signed, you don't get scouted, you don't get a signing bonus. You have to come in out of nowhere and convince somebody that you have the charisma and talent to be on television and to work even in an indie ring for a $15 shot. It is hard. I have seen guys live in their cars. I've seen guys travel 3 states to go to wrestling school. I've seen guys borrow money from me because they needed a pack of smokes or something like that back in the day. I am telling you, my respect for these people, the men and women these days, off the scale. And watching them bloom is one of the most, like I said, I used to write those introducing articles that have really young kids in there. Watching them bloom, watching them get work, like Billy Silverman, the referee.
Okay. Yes.
I was around when he was doing the smallest indies, and to see him go up, fantastic. That's what I used to like to watch.
Well, you just kind of brought up a point, Nork, and said, again, laying on her grandpa's stomach as a baby watching wrestling. What you're kind of getting into is, I've talked about this before. So you can be, you could be anybody, and if you're athletically talented, people will find you. You will have a spot.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about any sport that we love, why was Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, when he played for Cincinnati, was he an amazing wide receiver? Absolutely right. Amazing wide receiver. But what really made him a talent was charisma.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of every person in this room, first off, they can all take a shot. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
They can take a shot. They can take a hit. But then turn around and take that hit and be talented and charismatic to where you went, like we just said, man, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
You signed this for me?
Here's how tough it is to be a pro wrestler. You said with Maya, and I'm going to have to get off quick because I'm supposed to be moderating a panel at 1:00. Nobody's told me anything yet, but we'll find out. But I was around when Mick Foley was starting out.
Okay.
Mick Foley had the drive, the passion, the talent, even as an in-ring guy before he was taking all those bumps and all that other stuff.
God.
I saw him do amazing things on high school cards when he was really in his formative years. But here's the deal. Back then, everybody looked like the Warlord or the Barbarian or Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior. He had no noticeable muscles at all. How long did it take that poor guy to get over? Because the promoters wouldn't let him get over because of the way he looked.
He didn't look like all those guys. He didn't have.
But he kept at it, and became probably one of the greatest stars of the last 3 decades ago because he kept at it. He was original. He had a voice, and he honed that voice, and he's a rare talent. But he's a perfect example of there's probably guys that can probably out wrestle or keep up with Ric Flair right now, sitting in a gym somewhere, not getting a shot because maybe his body isn't perfect, maybe his teeth aren't good,
right?
Maybe his nose is crooked. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we had those guys. What was the one? He's one of the big trainers now. The Brooklyn Brawler.
Steve Lombardi.
Yeah, was it Brooklyn Brawler?
He was Steve Lombardi. Yeah.
Him and look at the Nasty Boys. They were not cute.
No, they weren't.
We're missing those guys.
Right. That's exactly right. That's a great point.
We're missing those.
Nobody would say, "Oh, I can't wait to sign those 2 fat guys."
Right.
But you know what? They could work, and they could make you mad. That was a real skill.
We don't have any more Typhoon and Hurricane.
Right.
Big guy.
Bronson Reed.
Yeah, but they're not like none of those guys were. Again, I'm going back to what you're saying.
Yeah.
They were. We don't have that guy. What we have today is the wrestler that I look at the same way as when I was a kid. I looked at a He-Man figure and went, "I'm never going to be that big."
Right.
But we don't have the guy anymore who you look at and you go, "I think I hung out with that dude. Like I can hang out with that dude."
Yeah.
We're missing those guys. That's an absolute thing. Now you got to go do a show.
Yeah, I think I'm doing some sort of a show, and now I'm kind of sorry that I am because I'm having so much fun talking to you. But
you'll have to come back.
Yes,
you'll have to come back, and we'll sit and we'll talk.
And I'm glad you never heard of me because you know what this is. You learn. I hope you learn a little something from an old fart like me. I'm learning from you too because it's like I'm finding out that a younger fan or older fan, we all just want good wrestling, good entertaining wrestling. It's all we're looking for.
That's all I care about.
Right. we're not so different. There's this giant thing online of AEW versus WE fans. Stop it. Enjoy what you enjoy. Life's too short to be full of vigor and venom. Just enjoy what you got.
Well, find the talent. And the other thing is find the talent that you enjoy and follow that guy.
Yeah.
Find out who that guy or girl is. See what's up. See what they're doing. Anybody in the industry, if you're out there and you're actually listening to me, please take a moment and bring back some of the good gimmicks that we all miss. I missed the gimmicks of, I used to love midget wrestling. I used to love it when I was a little guy, and those guys would come in. I know you can't. I don't know if they even call it that now, or if they call it little people wrestling.
There's anybody doing it?
Yes, there's the micros.
That's right. They come to Long Island all the time. They work the bar scene. Yeah, that's right. Micro championship wrestling. That's right.
And they have some. But you know what? If you watch them, they have great gimmicks. They have great talent. They're all little people, and it's fun to watch them. You don't see that I never see what's the one? Not log jam. What was it called? It was lumberjack matches. Like, do you remember the lumberjack matches?
Yeah.
You don't see.
Why not? It makes good sense. I don't know why you do that.
You don't see lumberjack matches.
You know why? Because there's no heels and faces anymore. Everybody's a blur.
What'd you call them?
Everybody's a blur now.
Yes. I've never heard that term.
That's the way I call them.
That's a great term. There is no more heels and faces.
Right. It's Drew McIntyre's heels his face. No, he's a blur.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's you may have just coined something on
maybe.
Here for me.
That's
like
great. So I've had a career, my friend.
Like, look at that. Like you just there's your 4-star.
Listen,
right there.
I have to stand up, find Seth Turner, the leader of this wonderful thing.
Seth is somewhere that way. There's Mike, so you can.
And I'll see what's about to happen, and we'll find out if I'm doing this at all. So
if you're not, come back.
I'll come back.
We'll start snatching these guys up and we'll interview them together.
Okay,
brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, no problem.
We'll talk soon.
That was fun.
Absolutely.
You know your stuff, man.
Thank you. Look, folks, we're still out here at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame at the MVP Arena. Do us a favor, stop by, see what we got going on. Look, Justin, it absolutely was like wrestling as a kid was one of those things we wanted to come out and do. We wanted to come see everybody. We wanted to see the talents. Make sure you're stopping by and seeing us. Everybody that popped on for the last hour and listen to Bob. Bob was great. Just an absolute blast. We're probably going to pause this one for a little bit, see who's out there, see who we can talk to. I wonder who's out there. Who's that? That is Rando is over there. Heavyweight with where'd Kayla go? Did we lose Kayla? I was going to say if Kayla Sparks Let me see if I can snatch up Fox Vineyard for a minute. Fox. We're going to get Fox Vineyard to pop on here. Fox is a local guy, local talent with the indie circuit. I'd love to get his thoughts on some of the things that we were just talking about. Fox has been on the show a few times.
Here comes the most important guy.
Let me turn your mic. Look, now I got to turn your mic on. Now you can say it.
Here comes the most important guy.
Get your headphones on there. Let's
I don't know.
Well, listen to Fox talk about the worst host. He's been on the show multiple times. He's a local.
Loud.
Is it too loud for you? You want me to turn you down? How's that? Is that better?
I can hear me from all the way back here. It's crazy.
Well, that's the mic. That's
good microphone.
That's because somebody has actually good quality
These are
microphones.
sure better.
Yeah. Well, you know what? These mics. Look, folks. If you want to go, it took me a while to
Here's
get to
my
a Shure.
camera left, camera right.
It took me a while to get into the Shure mics, but for $100 for that
Yeah.
mic, and
I can hear me back here. Hey, can you still hear me?
yeah, actually, it still picks up well.
Very good.
It's also because I got a good audio technica over here. Welcome to We're talking about wrestling. We're going to talk about audio equipment. Show.
Welcome to the Audio Engineer program, starring yours only, Firework, Foxworth Vineyard.
Let's see if I can get you here. It's just you. We'll get you a little bit more zoom.
Can somebody bring me more coffee for free?
So now Fox and everybody in the local circuit, you probably have seen Fox wrestle. He just wrestled last night. You've been at this for how many years?
This past July made 15.
15 years.
15.
And you're doing, obviously you're doing the local circuits. You've done AEW,
Yeah, I've done some stuff. I've been to, I've wrestled for AEW, Ring of Honor, the OG. Most recently, I just did a couple matches. I was at NWA 76 event down in the ECW arena in Philadelphia. That was boss. Got the W there. So, yeah.
So Bob was just here. Bob is from Professional Wrestling Magazine. He worked for them. He worked with Bill Apner and all those guys. He's got his own show. But I was curious of something for you. Is some of the things that we brought up, some of the questions that I had.
Pose it for the camera.
You got to pose. You got to make it happen. Some of the things that we were talking about was how talent moves today. Is you got 15 years at this. And you also got your band. And you got your band.
Yep. And I do some acting. If you guys ever need some CMOS and Shiloh G, you can find me doing that promo somewhere.
But the way talent moves today, now one of the things I said was we'll never see the days of somebody like yourself show something comes into town, they're here to do something, whatever it is through WWE. We're never going to see them grab a local guy like you and throw you in the ring with a Roman Reigns. Those days are done, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
With a Roman, probably not.
Or even a mid-grade talent.
Like, you'll probably never see them be like, hey, we're going to give you this match to get you over. It will be, you're enhancing whomever that they're trying to rock. Because I've seen people, all the extras, I've been in WWE as an extra, waiting, like, hey, I wonder if they're going to use us to do something. Like, they could be like, hey, we need somebody who can take a really good choke slam. We need someone to get beat up. Hey, you look like you could fit the bill. And it's just kind of it's like the luck of the draw. And then once you get in the system and they know you and they're like, all right, this guy's reliable, blah, 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 blah. Like if
so that's the process.
Right. Like Justin Rando across the table. He's on the Fed every whenever they're around, he'll drive everywhere. And he's their guy. They need an EMT. They need and you could talk to him about it. And he's grown throughout that process. I'm waiting for them to be like, hey, same thing you just asked. Get a match, throw them on. But
deal.
Yeah, to build one of us up that's not in their developmental system, probably not going to happen. I mean, it could, but I don't think so because they have their own. It's just like, hey, all the guys at NXT are doing their own stuff. Let's use our own guy that we don't know, that fans don't know yet. But it's not going to be like back in the day when we're sitting at the Pepsi or the Knickerbocker and it's like Hacksaw Jim Duggan is facing from right here in Albany.
Dave.
Yeah. Dave
the door holder.
Dave Stevens.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Well, you brought up AEW, and I have a question. So AEW, I'll admit it, I have not watched AEW matches, but my understanding of AEW, is it the new? Is it kind of like for like baseball? You have developmental, or I should say basketball, developmental league and stuff like that. Has it become that developmental league for guys to go up no? So what is it?
They're AEW. Tony Atlas, I can hear you with this microphone.
Dude, Tony Atlas, I love Tony Atlas. He started laughing a couple of minutes ago before you sat down.
Probably made you down.
And I was like, son of a bitch, like, is he right here with us?
Right.
He has such a booming voice. Yeah, but so AEW.
Like when they would have the whole thing of AEW is the alternative, and that's exactly what it is. Like WWE is like, I've always said to people, like, you got to look at things different. WWE.
Slide up on the mic.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, but I can hear
loud.
I can hear you better this way.
I don't want to hear me loud. I always look at it like WWE is a television show with wrestling. AEW, everything else is wrestling that just happens to be on TV.
Okay.
Because like WWE will follow a big storyline, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're invested in a storyline. You don't even care if there's a match. You want to see Stone Cold pour cement in a car.
Yeah, I remember that.
But at the same time, you're watching AEW and other things, you're like, I don't really care about what's going on. Just do some flips, do some cool moves. I want to see a good match. So there's an alternative of what you're watching and how to watch, and it just depends. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that was kind of one of the things I was saying, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. And folks, we got Fox Vineyard. Fox is a local indie wrestler. He wrestles all over the East Coast. His brother's got a really nice car. I've known Fox for a while. He's been on the guest been a guest on the show several times. But one of the
Never
things
paid me. Never paid me. This is free advertising.
it is free advertising for
Somebody
Fox.
get me a cup of
It is free advertising for Fox.
I meant for you.
Oh.
Using my clout, dog. This is
So-
real chain. You hear that? That's real.
That
A real
baller
chain.
baller life. But you know what? That you bring up a great point. Can we get back, or would it ever come back? Like I was talking about watching Ricky the Dragon and Ric Flair wrestle together back in the day on a Japanese show, and they were in the ring 45 minutes. You know, they were at it for a full blown, and it was a lot of technical kind of like, it wasn't splash page wrestling. Do you understand what I mean when I say splash page?
Yeah.
Like-
It was like one for indie stuff. It's very rare that a company, if they're not on like a YouTube or whatever was IWTV or whatever,
Right.
if they're not on something that a person who's not at the local show can watch, it's very rare they're going to be like, hey, wrestler A, wrestler B, go out 40 minutes, let's go. Because 40 minutes, you have a lot of time to do a Flair Steamboat and like
Right.
work, and you can do whatever you want.
But is that dead? Is that dead?
Sometimes, or you'll get like a rare, like just last week, Punk and McIntyre, they just did 30 minutes and they had a build in the cage, you know, in the Hell in a Cell. That's like a kind of old school, bring it back
Yeah,
a little bit.
absolutely.
But like, you can watch like AEW's, like I said, it's a different animal about it, because they'll have a match that's an hour long. They had matches like an hour long, but then they'll do like a quick, here's the 30 minutes, but it's just like here's two people going, let's go. Indie stuff, you don't really have that build. A lot of indie, and it's kind of like a gift and a curse type of deal, right?
Right.
So like you go to a show and the guy's like, hey, we'll put hey Fox, it's gonna be you and Wrestler 7 gonna be in this match. I'm gonna give you guys 20 minutes. I need you to do this to get you for this. Cool. Now we have something to build. But is that person who's coming back next show next month gonna be like, I remember you guys just did this killer match, and they're only gonna remember the finish. So unless they're filming and putting it on, there's not much. We're in a world of TikToks where everything's 60 seconds.
Right. You need that instant gratification match.
Right. You need a lot of people don't like to have stuff marinate and let it marinate, let it rock. It's just like, let's go boom, 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 boom.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I remember back in the day watching like Piper's Pit.
Yeah.
And you would and he would almost set up what that storyline was going to be, and he would build it up, and you would hear about it, and those things would start coming along, and then all of a sudden, you know, the era of the Flash of the Flash page came, and it's, you know, I need RVD with a frog splash, you know, or no, that wasn't RVD, that was Eddie Guerrero. Thank you.
I mean, he has a 5-star frog splash.
He has the 5, yes. But you know, those type of things. And folks, if you're in the area, you're in the capital region, I got to tell you, and I'm going to get your thoughts on it as somebody who's got 15 years in the business. Come on down to the MVP. You can go and see the Hall of Fame for a donation. You can meet some legends of pro wrestling. You can meet the upcoming talent of pro wrestling that's out there. But as somebody like yourself, who, again, not just grew up loving this,
Right.
you decided to make it part of your career path. What is it like for you walking into the Hall of Fame and seeing what's in there?
That's awesome, because I'm like, it's in the building that I grew up watching wrestling. Like, my father would bring me and my brother down here to watch. Like, hey, we're going to watch some wrestling here. And I always tell the story too. Like when I used to first walk in as a kid, you're excited, you get the ticket, you run in, And the first thing you do is run in, open the curtains, and then you look down. And then there, at the time, the memory is it was just the blue, red, white, and blue ropes.
Yes.
Empty. Nothing was in the ring. It was just like the fans are piling in. And it was just like, oh man, there's gonna be magic. No big elaborate set. It was just a curtain, you know. And then like, so coming here and being like, oh, there's the Hall of Fame where I get to be a guest today. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool because like there's stuff in there that I'm like, oh, that happened here. Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, and that briefcase, I think it's still over.
Yeah, they have the real Money in the Bank.
It's in the thing. Like we were there. Like this arena has so much history in wrestling of stuff. We have the beer truck. We have Ric Flair.
Was the beer truck here?
Yeah, we have DX forming after WrestleMania. We have what else do we got here? Edge retiring, Edge winning his first title, Edge getting his name from our radio station. Like
That was all. I didn't realize all of Edge's stuff came here.
Kurt Angle beat The Rock for the title at No Mercy 2000 here.
I mean,
Like,
there's some definite like history.
so even just coming to the building as a wrestling fan, you're like, all this happened here. Yeah, with a tear in his eye, he had that right here.
That's pretty amazing.
And
I
then
guess I didn't realize how much. it went down.
150 feet over, there's Ric Flair's robe. There's
Yeah.
these titles. There's the ring
It
bell.
chills
they
as you're
beat.
saying.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a picture of me that I might have hid somewhere. Some real stuff happening.
I mean, I can feel like as you're saying it, I'm getting chills as you're saying all the different things that went down here. Because as a kid, I remember watching these things.
Yeah.
And I say as a kid, I also remember I was in my 20s when a lot of this, because my 20s was when a lot of the WWE became very what's that shit called? The Telemundo. It became very Telemundo during that my
Soap
20s.
opera, more so.
Very soap opera.
Story based.
Like but you know what? I loved the Undertaker and the Acolytes. That was one of my favorites.
The Ministry, yeah.
Like when they would all come out and everybody, it was like very dark.
Yeah.
That whole darkness thing.
Like Gangrel stuff when he first came in. They had like the lights off, the music pop. A lot, like I said, like I've been coming here to watch wrestling since I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So like my goal is to wrestle in the building. I don't care where it is. I was here for AEW backstage, had the blank name, and they didn't write my name. Broke my heart. And like they're coming here next month, and I'm really hoping that they like throw me on.
What can
You
we
know?
do to help? What can we do to help? Tell me.
Beg that guy, I guess.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy?
I think it's the captain, Sean Dean. Sean Dean, if you're listening, make my dreams come true. But yeah, like wrestling in the arena that I grew up watching wrestling is just something cool to do, you know?
All right,
Like,
everybody, find
bucket
Sean
list it.
Dean's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is you got to find.
Make it happen.
go find it.
Captain.
Send him a message. He needs to have Fox Vineyard on the show. He needs to have Fox Vineyard involved. You know, now
Because I don't know if they're doing Collision, and I don't know. I think they film ROH for like how you were saying,
Yeah.
how like there's ROH is like the upcoming for
that's the Ring of Honor. for
Ring of
anybody who
Honor,
doesn't know
the
it.
new Ring of Honor owned by AEW. It's kind of like ECW when WWE took over.
I love ECW. Like the original.
Yeah, so like picture WWE ECW, they had their development was in ECW. So the new ROH to me is kind of like where they're building their guys to come up to the AEW main. It's kind of like the NXT of Ring of
Okay.
Honor. And like I see a lot of local cats on there sometimes, and like I was at the original ROH. Like I did stuff for them for years. Like, you know, I didn't get like signed or anything, but like I had a lot of stuff that I did and memories of like,
You had a presence there.
yeah, like guys know me from there, and like it's always been an awesome locker room, and like it's just like a positive locker room, you know. So like, yeah, that's one of my dreams to be like, yo, wrestle here. Then say if I get a picture, where's my photographer, Jace? Takes a picture, throw my picture in the Hall of Fame of this guy here. Because I've had a good relationship with the Hall of Fame since they kind of
yeah.
opened up.
Well, remember you were on our show. That's how you met Seth and Mike
Yeah,
on our show. We all did a full blown show together because you helped them to get
on their one show that was about
Yeah.
to be scrapped. Not all Fox Vineyards wear capes. Some gimmicks maybe.
But I remember you helped get that all together. You helped save that promotion right there.
Yeah, and they've been awesome for the whole time. And this year they asked me, "Would you like to be a guest?" And I said, "Hell yeah, that's awesome. Let's rock and roll."
Well, that's an amazing thing. And now I got to ask you, you've seen a lot of matches. You've seen a lot. Is there any match in this building that for you was like, hey, this is the one. This is the one that set the tone for you.
Anything that I watched here,
That you personally watch here, that you would say this match set the tone for me.
as far as like I want to wrestle because of this match. See, I don't think it was any match that I was like, I want to do this.
Okay.
Like, DX coming back, right? So like in the crowd, I'm sitting there and Triple H is saying, Shawn Michaels dropped the ball. Blah, 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 blah. But sometimes you have to turn to your friends. And then here comes X-Pac. Right through the curtain, just got fired from WCW, comes through the curtain, boom. You hear JR, look at the kid is back. Boom, and he comes out talking his shit. Da, 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 da. And then 2 hours later, you have a blue steel cage. I'm pretty sure it was the Blue Boy. Boom, Mick Foley and Terry Funk tied up. Boom, and here comes the New Age Outlaws, and boom, they climb up on the all four post. DX music hits, and you have Triple H, X-Pac, and then the Outlaws and the new DX. Started right there.
Dude, I'm telling you, getting chills as you say it.
And I'm just like, yo, this spot here. Or I remember sitting in the crowd when Hogan got dumped over, and then like my dad saying, Hulk's done, he lost, and then he pulls Sid over, and then Ric Flair wins the Rumble. You know what I mean? Like, there's like so it's more moments than like, oh, that guy did an arm drag, I want to do this.
Oh my goodness! Hold on a second, folks. If you're here at the live, we got Seth.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated knows Mr. Bob Johnson, and he's going to go around and work the room, and we're going to start telling stories. But I want to start telling Harley Race stories.
All right, there, folks. Like I said, if you're out here in the Albany area, International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, that's the president, Seth. Seth's out here.
All right, so
You
we're
got
going
Bob
to go
Smith from
see
Professional
we're
Wrestling
going to go
Magazine.
see Justin. We're going to see Tony Atlas.
I need a
We're gonna see
coffee.
Mario Simone.
Nice baby, when he's done.
I would like a coffee also.
I'm not getting it for you. I don't work for you.
There's always one jabron that just ain't willing to make it happen.
That's what we're going to be dealing with.
Must be Dan Severn.
There's Dan Severn with a finger around his.
He got that thumb. He was at thumb wrestling. He took his thumb.
Did you take the thumb?
Come back in from over there. They're doing their cutting their. But to let the fish student talk, otherwise people aren't going to hear us.
Yeah.
The thumb.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself because Seth was trying to get some more viewership for them watching us type of thing there, and so he had this thumb war contest, and he didn't know what I had done. I went to it and picked up the thumb at a little horror shop and stuff like that.
No, I know that guy's thumb. I've seen that thumb somewhere before. He took that off of the guy he beat.
Well, I was
Don't be
laughing.
modest, Dan Severn.
I had a whole thing when I was thinking about the whole thing with the thumb wrestling that you and Seth are going to go. I was going to try to find one of those steel chairs from the WWE wrestling sets,
Oh yeah.
and then I was going
Do
to
a run?
distract. I was going to distract Rita for you, so she wasn't paying attention to the match, and then I was going to hit Seth's thumb with the chair and just put you over for it. And
See,
I had a whole thing. I was like, I got this for him. I got Dan for this one. Seth can't have this. Hit it with the chair, put you over.
no,
Now, who's he interviewing?
This is one thing about being at like a professional wrestling convention. You basically you can relive your childhood, have dreams and memories, and then like it doesn't matter that there's gray hair or no hair or whatever it is right now. It's like it's just the fact that you still think like a kid. That's all.
That's
Bring
it.
back some great memories.
That's it. Now, who's he? Who's Bob interviewing? Do you know? You know who that is?
I mean, I can't see with.
I don't know who she is.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I have no idea. And folks, if you don't realize who's standing over my left shoulder right now,
I just
that's Dan Severin. Maybe you might have heard of him. Hall of Famer for wrestling, Hall of Famer for MMA. He's probably won more trophies than you can count. You know,
he's got the most all-around good guy there too. All-around good guy.
Look at
Yeah.
that. You know,
But I have to be heavily on my meds. That's all. You know, no.
you know. But you know what? So I was talking to Bob, and I'll get your opinion on this. We were talking about that there's
You can take
here, slide
right here.
I got to ask you because I want your opinion on this too. You can grab here. We'll back the camera up for a second because I want to get your opinion on this. So we were talking. I was talking with Bob, and I said, you know, they don't do lumberjack matches anymore. Remember the old lumberjack matches?
Oh yes.
And he said, well, there's no more faces and heels. There's nothing but blurs. He said this term and he called them blurs. And I was like, son of a gun, I never thought of that because there really isn't, you know, there isn't any true, because I was like, you know, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah.
Not Bret, Hart, the Hart Foundation. Like all these guys that like really you could say, oh, if that's your manager, you're a heel.
Yeah.
They don't exist anymore. What is your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. There is a rather blurred line anymore. I always kind of looked at myself as kind of a baby face, but kind of like a no nonsense baby face. I was never going to be that person that was going to be speaking behind the mic, cutting vicious promos because that's not me. But by putting them with me with like a Jim Cornette, for example, like when I did work for the WWF at the time, you know, they gave me Jim Cornette, so Jim was my mouthpiece, and so he's looking out there like he's a UFC that, he's an NWA champion that. So I mean, Jim Cornette put me off, and I just basically had to go out there and just dismantle people. That's all I had to do. So.
Now I got to ask this, and folks. Dan's been on the show. Oh, let me back you down there. Is that too loud? And Dan's been on before, but I'm curious of something. Now you're legit, like, and I don't mean like legit wrestling, like the other guys weren't legit. But what I'm saying is you've got that background of.
No, I do have that amateur wrestling pedigree with me. I have a folk style wrestling pedigree to where I started off wrestling in junior high. So from 7th grade on, I was involved in the sport of amateur wrestling known as folk style. By my freshman year in high school, I also delved into freestyle wrestling. And then by my sophomore year, I delved into Greco-Roman wrestling. I already was predicting my future because knowing that, well, first off, I have 7 other siblings. I'm second on the totem pole. So it's like, well, big families on the farm was a norm because the unique part is it's third generation. The same farm is still in the Severn name. My grandfather owned it. My father owned it, and now one of my nephews owns it. So it's still in the Severn name. But there's back when it was in my grandfather's name that you didn't go to the hospital to have children. So I mean, there are some children that are buried on the farm,
like legitimate. But yeah. So I mean, you come from. That was, listen, folks. I didn't expect that one. That's. But what I was going to.
Well, again,
that's one of their thumbs right there.
My mom and I guess my dad and my mom just had more grappling matches than you know.
but what I was curious of is when you would get in the ring.
Yeah.
You always hear the stories about like, hey, we're putting whoever over, you know, you made it look, you stomp your foot, you do all the things to make it. Did you ever have a situation where somebody maybe didn't pull the punch enough where you had to remind them of your background?
No, I've been in matches where I ended up getting stiffed in the process. I mean, it sometimes. I mean, you kind of know if it was by accident or if it was intentional. But again, I never had any real problems. I did have one match. I can't remember where it was, and he wasn't really exactly going along with the program, and I kind of got fed up with it. So as he was coming in to try to take me down or something like that, I ended up grabbing him around. I basically did like a power bomb to him. But I mean, I was so geeked up with adrenaline stuff like that as I was bringing him on up, he was still going north when I released him to grab his hips to bring him in the south. And I mean, I brought him down with great velocity. And the match was supposed to go on a little bit more beyond that, but the match ended right there because I knocked the wind out of him and he couldn't go on from that point.
Do you remember who was that?
No, I don't remember. It was back again in the early
days.
Yeah, early 90s type of period of time. So,
That's amazing.
but like I said, I know what professional is all about. We're going to be out there. We're going to put on a great show for people. But you know already how many minutes you're supposed to be out there for. You know who's going to be going over. But I always tell people, don't use the word fake because professional wrestlers are some of the most incredible athletes doing some of the most incredible athletic maneuvers without the aid of a safety net. And do guys get hurt? Yes, they do. I got hurt. I mean, when you look at what happened to me with Owen Hart, in the Tombstone and stuff like that. He did it. He screwed up. I got hurt.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
You let me know. And we got some people, just so you know, we are live. This is all live right now. So Charity from my church, she says she grew up as a wrestling fan, huge fan. But you kind of you bring that up, but now you still keep this going though. You've got clinics you're putting on, you've got a podcast of your own, and you do. It is not just any kind of podcast. It's just not you talking about it. Who are you on the podcast?
Well, again, I have Don Fry of all people, known as the Predator, Don Fry. But Don Fry videos probably have more views than anybody else. I mean, especially the number one was him, Takayama versus Don Fry in Pride, where literally. I always tell people that if you Google that, when the referee, as soon as the referee says fight, they literally kind of jog towards each other. When they're within arm's reach, they start to punch each other, but then they get a collar tie on each other, and they're simultaneously punching each other in the face, just like a hockey match or something like that.
You've never seen that?
No, it's like the first 40 seconds is just insane of what they did. But Don doesn't have just one of those matches. Don has had multiple matches like that. So
Don just reminds me of the guy whenever you see an interview with him. He's like, "Hey, listen, man, I'm gonna sit here, drink my whiskey. Don't let your old lady get too close, and you better keep your mouth shut." Like that's the vibe that you get. Not that he said he's ever done it, but like that's the vibe that I get.
You did actually pretty good impersonation of that voice there, because he did not have that voice when I was his coach. Again, I was an assistant wrestling coach at the time. Don lived with a couple of my younger brothers, so I knew Don much like a younger brother, because I not only did I see him in practice time, but then I would go over to see my younger siblings, stuff like that, knowing that they were all starving students. It's kind of like going, okay, well, I'm gonna go take them all out to the local buffet, and they're gonna terrorize it. And there you go. I can't leave Don behind. It's like, come on, Don, you're part of the group. Let's go.
Oh, so I didn't know that. So you coached him also?
Yes. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Well, I always tell people the only credit I will ever take on Don Fry is I helped Don get his foot into the door of the UFC, but Don Fry kicked it wide open for himself.
I love watching Don Fry matches. Like that Takayama match is like, there's just
insane. It's insane, man.
Nothing like Fox. If you when you get a chance, sit down. I mean, it's watching two grown men that have real fight talent throw that shit right out the window and just hold on to each other and punch each other in the face.
Literally, it's about an opening 45 seconds where they literally have a collar tie and they are punching each other in the face.
Short shots, just like short shots. Like
I'll have to look at it.
Yeah. It's a different
I'll do
animal.
it next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
so what do you got? Anything else coming up that you want to tell everybody about?
No, I mean, I stay incredibly busy doing a lot of things. I still, the thing I love still teaching the most is this amateur wrestling, because again, it just gives you a lot of great character traits that it will teach you about. But then I still travel around the country and around the world teaching what I do with law enforcement, corrections, air marshal, border patrol, military. They all have some sort of a ground combatives program, and I've either helped them develop it or I have helped develop it even further for what I do, because I think about they put me in their equipment, and I could come up with stuff they never even thought of. But that's because I'm a competitor. I just know how to do that. So I do all those things. But now you're seeing a more comical side of Dan Severn because I'm rocking it now, doing all kinds of things with senior citizens.
Oh, really?
You know, so anyone that hits that I think around 50, 55 years of age, AARP is right there with that happy birthday, senior. It's the birthday card that no one wants to receive, okay? But you receive it nevertheless. And it's like going, okay, this is the reality. And then again, I always tell people that I'm not the war dog I once was. You know, with each year, I have to a little bit more erodeth away, a little bit more. I'm on the other side of the mountain. And it's a rather slippery slope.
Well, I tell you, folks, if you get a chance and you see Don's got something going on in your area, go out and check it out, see what he has going on. I'm going to tell you right now, Don, you put off the vibe of that guy who you're like, and he's a really nice guy. I just don't want him to ever put his hand on me. It's that like, man, we can sit down. He's going to be polite to you, to your family, to your spouse. Everything, but at the same time, you always still, every time I meet you, you always put off that vibe of, but I want to make sure I use words like sir and thank you and be polite because I never want you to put your hands on me. Now, I've watched your fights before and I know about those things, but I got to thank you, bud. I'm going to ask one thing I've asked all the wrestlers to do. If you could just sign a coaster for the Above the Bar podcast, we're gonna save these. Maybe we'll figure out something. We'll give them to Rita or something. Come on down and come see us, folks. Come see us at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. See what Don's got going on. See what Fox can do something. He's trying to get in the business. Look at him. I mean, look at him.
15 years of trying. I'm going to keep on going.
That might not.
No, have you heard Tony Atlas yell at you yet?
Tony Atlas is about as loud as it. I'm just trying to get that mic.
Tony is on the podcast across the room. This is across the room podcast.
Tony can, he can project that voice. I think that's because I think he might be in that era of that they didn't have microphones when they first started. That's
They
what it
was
was.
talking in the hairbrushes back then.
Exactly.
Well, I always think of him. He was in a documentary years ago that was talking about what happened to wrestlers after they've left wrestling. What are they doing? And he was doing, and I was talking to Bob about it. He was doing shoot matches with like a female wrestler. I'm gonna tell you right now, he took shots to the face,
I've seen it.
everything. Where I'm like, I did 20 years in the Marine Corps. You're not hitting me that way.
Yeah. I just chatted with him a little earlier to find out that I think he said he just turned 70 years of age. And again, he works out almost on a daily basis. Still, I mean,
There was a time, it was 4, 5, 6 years ago. It was a tag match we had with him. And this is when he was wearing his Superman getup.
Oh, yes.
And out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh, we're wrestling tonight." Usually, you do the regular. He was arm dragging, hip tossing, going nuts, and I was like, "Okay, Tony Ellis, I guess we're not wrestling tonight." That was awesome.
And that's what we were talking about earlier about that skill wrestling, that arm drag, that off the rope, hip toss, that type
And
of stuff.
the crowd was with him just on an arm drag and a hip toss. That was it.
And you had to sell it though.
Yeah,
That's the other side to
Well, I
it.
didn't have to sell it because he legit could pick me up and throw me on the ground. Have you seen Tony Atlas before?
but no, just like you said, there's a give and take in the industry, and you want to make everyone look good in the process too. So.
Well, Don, I don't want to hold you up. I know you have to
Get back to the table there.
Get
But
to your
no,
table.
again,
Always
appreciate
pleasure
the
seeing you,
time,
brother.
stuff like that. It's there.
And I'm glad you got Seth's thumb.
Keep pushing it. You never
We're
know.
doing.
I'm
We're
glad you
doing.
got Seth's thumb there. You took it from him.
It's Dan the B. Severin of Severin.
Of the Severin and Severin fingers.
Yeah, Dan the
That
B.
could have been a great
Severin.
gimmick. That could have been a gimmick.
I know. Come back.
We never even thought about where like if he wanted to, he could start coming out with people's like with like a rim.
He could also do a skit where he's like Pappy Druitt.
He drew it.
Pappy.
I don't know who that is.
So back in the day, there was a show on like WMHT or whatever,
Okay.
and it's just a old gentleman in a cabin who would teach you how to draw.
Okay.
And he had, it's kind of like a he would talk to like, puppet creatures,
Right.
but he would teach you how to draw like a picture and color it in. He'd talk to you, and it was like Pappy Land. And
And I said, well,
Now-
now want me to wear these trunks.
and Severn looks like Pappy because Pappy was the older guy. And it would be hilarious to dress him up like that and have a guy try to draw and then he power bombs him or something.
And just wears him completely out.
Wrestles him out. Yeah, like here we're gonna draw
Took off
a
his hat and
headlock,
everything.
you know.
Welcome to Pappy Land. We're going to go ahead and show you how we're going to do this.
But yeah,
Hard as it.
he's a
Give me a backdrop.
seems like imagine that you're just like trying to mess with him, like I'm gonna go mess with this sweet old man, and then he headlocks you through a wall.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he just has that vibe to him. Like please don't do that. And I can't believe you've never seen that Don Fry fight, bro. Like that fight.
I said, Harley, what did you do
I gotta
that
hold on a
for?
second. I gotta
Tony,
turn this
He said,
up.
I
Like
want the people to
folks, this
see
is
the dark
Phil
side of
Tony,
the
I'm gonna
moon.
go grab a coffee.
you go grab a coffee.
I never want
I
them
want people to see.
again.
And a
But when we talk
LP
about
also.
pro wrestling, in my opinion, I have never met anybody better than Harley Race. Never. I mean, I had match with him. I didn't know.
Tell him about the King Harley race.
Headlock from
I don't know how well you can pick up what he's saying.
Harley led you through the match. A lot of people don't know that. Harley would make you look like $1 million. Make you look like $1 million in the ring. Now, the one thing that nobody want to do with Harley Race is
If you can hear this, yeah,
Yeah,
Jerry, thank you for popping by. This is absolutely
Harley
incredible.
Race at this time, I asked his son the other day how old was Harley. When he was managing Vader in WCW.
It's hard to see him right now, but he's talking about the King Harley race,
He was at this hotel,
the talent that he was, the abilities he had.
I was managing. I was there with Cactus Jack. I was a heel with Cactus Jack,
Okay.
and we was all sitting in the bar drinking and doing karaoke. When Butch Reed was, Butch Reed was big, huge, and then what? 1993, he kept for some reason he kept picking up.
Seth has the world's largest speaker for this room. It's absolutely hilarious how loud, how big that speaker is that he's got going on here.
Butch trying to take on Harley Race. This is 93.
I don't know if you can tell, or somebody let me know how well you can hear
Harley Race knocked him out of good. Right there.
how well you can hear Tony Atlas.
One punch. One punch. So you can do whatever you want to a Harley Race, just don't fight him. One time I tried to get cute with him in the ring, but he liked it. Man. But if he did, he would just whoop my ass and left it like that. He liked it man. For some reason, I don't know why. But he took my nipple and put it in his mouth and ground it with my teeth in the air. If I bite off that nipple of yours, you can't win no more than bodybuilding shows, now can't you? And I said, no, sir. He said, well, then do what the fuck I tell you. But if you ever met him, he would get your shirt off his back. Toughest SOB I've met in my life. Love his family, love the fans. When I sign autographs, I think about every autograph I sign, I think about Harley Race. This is the reason why. I watched Harley sign. He took his time. I said, Harley, just sign it. He said, these people work this is Harley Race. I quote, these people work very hard for their money. They travel a long way to see me. These people deserve a good autograph. That's Harley. These people deserve a good autograph. You see how some people did just scribble? Harley wouldn't do that. He would take his time with every fan. Sometimes they try to rush the man through. Harley, give him time to get his autograph. Give him time. People didn't, some of the vendors didn't like it, but that was Harley. He felt that the fans were just as important as anybody in that building. They travel a long way. They work hard for their money. They deserve a good autograph. And from that day on, every time I sign somebody autograph, I think about, even though I'm saying in my name, I think about the word of Harley Race stuck in my head. These people deserve a good autograph.
That's awesome. If you're here at the show, you can realize how quiet it's
Great
gotten
champion.
as Tony Atlas is talking about Harley
And
Race.
the dark side of the movement.
Again, folks, we're out here at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Stop this camera here. We'll just go to one.
The what? What did he say?
Have a gun with him.
All the wrestlers did. Typical back
Yep,
in
you
the
gotta love this, folks. We're out at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame at the MVP.
Carry a gun. I did too. I had a 357 Magnum, right, Tito? Big chrome. I carry a 357 Magnum without travel. See what happened? You be on the road. When we get paid every
How do I have to
night,
turn that camera back on?
and we didn't get a check until at TV once every 3 weeks in Allentown to get a check for the big show, like Madison Square Garden, the Spectrum, all the Coliseum show. You got that, but they had to have time to tally up all the money. But for the house show, like when I worked for a Mario father, Angelo Savoli, Angelo would pay me that night on the house show. So the house show, we got paid that night. So the board is running around with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in their pocket. And you're on the road. You got no protection. We don't have bodyguards like most people. And the fans knew everything about the wrestling. They knew every hotel we stayed in. They knew when we were going to wrestle. They knew what restaurant we went through. They knew what gym we went through. They knew everything about us. So anytime a guy wanted to rob a wrestler, we were like walking banks. We had to wait 3 weeks to get to where because every wrestler got called a base registration. Like in the WWF time, the base was, some of the guys live in Hamden, Connecticut. Some of the guys live in New Jersey, like Tito and Mario and Slooker moved to Ted DiBiase. And Slooker moved to New Jersey. But Morocco, but a lot of guys lived at Tony Guerrero and the Wild Samoan and Rocker Johnson. We stayed in Hamden, Connecticut, right.
This is incredible. Just listening to these stories.
3 weeks before we see our place. During that time, we got paydays for 20, 25 days of payday in your pocket. You know, so unless you had a nice pair of tennis shoes, you couldn't get no money from me. I know this about Harlem, but I gotta tell this about Mario and then Buddy Tommy. We was in Boston one time, and we're in a bar drinking.
So Mario, who he's talking about, was a WWE ref that moved up the ranks.
I go upstairs. I come downstairs. I get a girl. I get a pair of tennis shoes. I go upstairs. So Mario sat there and watched me. So Tommy is wondering what's going on. He said, Mario, that Tony, he's a sex addict or something. Every time I see him, he takes a different woman upstairs. Mom said, oh, he's not doing nothing with her. Tommy said, well, what the hell he doing? He said, you what? Every time he comes, he got a different shoebox. He said, they go upstairs, they walk on him, he get one on him, he go buy new shoes, go look for a girl that's world, and they go get walked on. Oh, come on, that can't be true. He never did it. But he ain't doing nothing, brother. He just getting walked on.
Absolutely hilarious.
That was
Folks.
wrestling.
Come on out here to the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. We're in Albany, New York at the MVP, having a grand old time here, listening to stories from Tony Atlas. Ricky the Dragon's over there. To my left is you may know him as the Godfather of Papa Shango. To my left, there's a little bit of everybody here right now. It's very loud though.
You know what? We're going to go to the other side of the room. Let's go talk to the Godfather after that. Godfather, I'm coming over to see you, brother.
Talking to the Godfather. What's up, Brian? How you been?
Charles, good to see you, man.
Sit down.
Wait.
I got to get away from look, Tony Atlas has just traumatized us over there, all right?
Probably racist son.
So we got to shift over here. I apologize. I got to recalibrate. Let's start with this. Talk about
So,
your tour of the museum today and what you
beige
thought of
shorts, black shirt,
the
maybe?
International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
That's the way he's just talking. I didn't know Harley Race's son was here.
The nostalgia that you have there and all the stuff is just, I have a cousin that has a
Get what?
collection of stuff in it, so I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get those guys over. What I'm doing is having everybody sign
Expensive.
coasters for the bar. So right now these are the only ones. I didn't have my show coasters. I realized I ran out. So I gotta get more show coasters. Sound right? So we're gonna do that. Trying to get I'm gonna get you back on here in a little bit too. I know you're out there doing your autographs. Get all your autographs. Sit down, brother.
What does it mean when you see that, fellow pro wrestlers that are getting, enshrined into the Hall of Fame?
I think it's great. Maybe one day I'll be.
Get you. All right, you're gonna get that mic. These mics are kind of loud. Let's see. I gotta switch you around, brother. To introduce yourself to everybody.
My name is Brian Liston. I'm a wrestling fan, poet, blogger, author, a YouTuber, and just all around good guy.
Brian is a buddy of mine. We're friends on Facebook. We met each other through the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. But you're podcasting now, aren't you, Brian?
For a little bit. I mean, I'm nowhere near as good as Above the Bar or anyone else like that.
But you've been doing it for a while now, and you're staying with the wrestling theme, right?
Yeah.
But you're approaching it, and you let me say this. Are you using the term neurodivergent, or you just say it? So Brian is neurodivergent, but you approach the pro wrestling side with it and what that means for you.
Yeah.
Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Well, it came out of the pandemic. Actually, it's called the Autistic Super Channel, which you can find on YouTube if you want. What it is my
Get up to the mic. It's a little loud there.
Gotcha. What I like to do is like to give my thoughts on certain current events and of course wrestling. Of course, I usually stick to WWE. Mostly because of the fact that if I go to AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling, it can be a lot.
Kind of spiral down at that point. It's much more of a rabbit hole when you get to all the different things that are out there in the talents and all that. So how often now you're doing this? How long have you been doing your show for?
It actually started. It was to have been. It actually got started in 2020 during the pandemic.
Okay.
It was my way of basically being like an FDR, a fireside chat kind of deal, because I wanted to kind of inspire people, but also make people realize that they're not alone. But of course, it evolved from the hot take to the super block verses, and from other parts too.
Nice. And how often are you doing your show?
The hot takes vary. Usually, I'll do the super block verses like once a month.
Okay.
But it varies from time to time. I've actually done some for Hope Rocks for the Hope Cast.
Okay.
What that is that was something that I got on board with when it came to Joe DeFino, who's the founder and one of the people part of Hope Rocks. So
Joe is an amazing person. Joe's been on the show before in years past when we were doing the Hall of Fame. Where is Joe? Is he going to be at the dinner tonight?
He will.
Okay, I'll see Joe then. Yeah, Joe's an amazing guy. Joe's actually who introduced Brian and I together, and Joe's an amazing dude. All right, so you've got that going on. Now I'm going to get your take on something. This is kind of Bob introduced this term to me. We might have just coined it during this show, and I want to get your thoughts on it as I'm asking all the different pro wrestlers what their feelings are on this. We had the days. The conversation started with, I used to always love lumberjack matches, the classic. All the heels are on one side, all the faces on the other side, and the guys would wrestle, and they couldn't get out of the mat, out of the ring. They would toss them back into the ring. We don't see those anymore. And when Bob and I were talking, he said, because we don't have faces and heels, we have blurs now.
Yes.
He used the term blurs. We kind of coined that today. What are your thoughts on that? As a big wrestling fan, as somebody who enjoys this, do you miss having the faces and heels? Do you think they're, or are we really down to blurs.
I mean, you this kind of deal because you want to be able to make, because there are certain characters that you might see that might not have done the thing that you would have done, but you get to understand why they're doing it. But you get to understand the inner workings as to why they're doing it. I mean, you may not see. I mean, there was a match I was seeing at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame with Mankind and some. I'm looking at the Undertaker, and he's just trying to be the enforcer. But you can also see there's a lot of layers to those types of things,
Right.
and you could also see the same thing too with NXT, for example. I mean, you get to see like the good side to people, but you can also see the bad side to people as well.
But Taker went from being a heel to being a face because he became a fan favorite. But he was very clear who he was.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Rondo. We're gonna see when you get a chance, brother. You wanna jump on when you get a chance? Well, okay. Well, you can. This is the hot question of today. Jumping on with us. So here you got headphones that should be over there for you, Rondo. So Rondo, for those who don't know, he's done some stuff with WWE, AEW. Who else?
No AEW.
No AEW. No. Who else have you done stuff with?
Just WWE.
But they've had you on what, like paramedic, all kinds of.
I've done. I was on Survivor Series. I got to work with Ronda Rousey. We were the guys in the front row that caught her and Shotzi and Shayna Baszler.
Okay.
They were great to work with. I did. My first one was in Hartford where I got to work with Bobby Lashley. And that was
I
probably
love Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley was great. Like that was
That's a
probably,
big son of a bitch,
oh
too.
my God. But it was awesome. That's where he gave me the helicopter right into the ring post on the outside. People still repost that almost every couple of months. Somebody will send it and go, "Hey, look what just came up on my news feed." And I'll go, man, because Ichiban was also in that segment, and he took a spine buster that was like, he was 9 feet in the air, I think, when he took it. And my other one that was really got me was I got to Brooklyn at the Barclays Center.
Okay.
And I'm walking in, and one of the guys says, "Well, half of you guys are going to do a thing with Ray, Rhea, Dom, and the other half of you guys are working with Brock Lesnar." And I went, "Please let me be one of those guys working with Brock," because that was somebody that I really wanted to work
How's he
with.
to work with? Like, he seems like obviously his persona, and that's the question of the day. His persona is very heel driven. But how is he like just working with him as a talent?
Quiet. He's quiet, but absolute professional. Like I was really happy to get to work with him, and it was kind of like one of those things. Like he comes in the building, and we got together, and he met all of us. And he was very professional with it, and I was just, for one, I was going, I can't believe I get to work with him. This is going to be awesome. And if you watch the segment, I took the first clothesline, and it was with Bobby Lashley segment. So it was contract signing. He jumps down, he throws the contract, and he comes through with 8 of us. And I was one of the first ones that came at him. So it was like people got to see, they saw me, they knew it was me. And at this point, I had done quite a bit. So I did a trainer spot where I was with Bailey.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's like everybody I've worked with has been so great. Like they help you. Like they tell, they're all inspiring and positive to like keep doing what you're doing. You know, they're just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. You know,
that's the eventually it'll happen. So that kind of feeds into it. This kind of came up. Bob Smith from Professional Wrestling Magazine. And all those things we were talking, and I said, we really don't have the King Harley Race, the Bobby the Brain Heenans, the Jimmy Hart tone as if I'm your manager, you're now a heel. If you don't really have a manager, you're probably going to be a face.
Right.
We don't have that because it started with I love lumberjack matches.
Yep.
I thought they were great. And he used a term that I'm going to say we coined it here on the show. I don't give a shit. He called it, everybody's a blur right now. There's no faces and no heels.
No,
Do you believe that also?
I do. I think that now, I think it's more so that people are going to like, they're going to like who they like and who they relate to. I know for like, when you look at the past, you had all the baby faces, you had the good guys. They were always good, you know, and unless they did something to turn on somebody that they were tag teaming with or anything, you had they were the baby faces.
Right.
And the heels were always dirty. They were either,
slide a chair in.
yeah, they'd always have to do something to win, anything they could do to win. Now more so, I think ever since you had that Attitude Era really is what,
It's a great
and
example.
you had the NWO. People love the NWO because they were different, and
Weren't they all heels though?
they were.
They were all
They were, and people booed them, but yet they sold merchandise and people loved them. And it was like you loved to hate them because you knew they were something special. You knew the NWO was something. You knew DX was something special.
Right.
And it's the same with Austin. When you watch Austin, and he first came in, and they put him into the King of the Ring, and he ended up going over, winning the King of the Ring. And he goes over and he gets on stage and he does his interview. And when he does that interview, there was nobody like him at the time.
Right.
There was nobody like him. So I think that just shocked everybody. Like, oh my God, I love this guy. And then to have him step in and start his feud with Mr. McMahon. I mean, and they always say, you watch any of the shows, like you go back to that. It's like, who doesn't want to fight with their boss, and who wishes that they could say the things that he said. And that's what made him. And you had Bret Hart was absolutely, that was so
That's
different.
classic.
But the best part about Bret with that, he was a heel in America, but he was a baby face everywhere else.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
If you watch any of that stuff, he was a baby face in Canada, Germany, everywhere he went. He was a good guy, but in America, he was a heel.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he ran around with the Anvil, I think, here. Like, was the Anvil with him, Longbeard?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was he were they traveling together in other countries? Because the Anvil was always a heel.
No, because when they were the Hart Foundation, just him and the Anvil. I mean, you're talking now. Bret, it was the Hart Foundation where it was Pillman. Owen,
Right.
the Bulldog, and you had. Did I say Pillman already?
Yeah.
So there was, they had the 4 or 5 that were the new Hart Foundation, and when they were there, it was they basically kind of looked at it as Americans like the anti-hero.
Yes.
And so that's what they played with that. But he's, Canada, we have heroes. Germany, we have heroes. And so he was always,
I had no idea.
If you pay attention to a lot of if you watch his promos or you see anything like that with all of them, he was always, and I mean, eventually they became full on, I think, heel like everywhere when it was DX and you had all that kind of stuff. But for the very beginning, he was like the only guy that he was a heel in America, but a babyface everywhere else.
I had no idea.
And it worked. And it was something different. Did you have
something, Brad?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of it has to come to not only the times that we're living in, like
Let's talk to the mic, bud. Move up to the mic, Brad.
Right. Sorry. I think a lot of it is more along the line with the internet coming on right now that gives you an idea as to who the people are. And also, a lot of it has to come to the fact of the timing of what you're dealing with right now. I mean, would the Hart Foundation have been a heel in '97 without the changes that were going on during the time? I mean, that's hard to say, but I mean, I'm just saying it like I'm just trying to give like my take on it,
Right. No, I'm with you. So can we ever get then? So then the question, you're in the business, Rhonda. I mean, you see it all the time. You know what's going on. The question there becomes, could we ever go back to that true delineation between
like the cookie cutter baby face and the cookie cutter heel?
Yeah.
I think you still have some of those. I think there are still some of those out there. But I think with, and I agree with what he said with society today and the way that, I mean, I love, like, I was just talking to somebody earlier about guys that I become more of a fan of now in their work and what they do.
What do you mean?
Like Randy Orton.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
for example, Randy Orton, like
Great heel.
I absolutely love everything Randy Orton does. But when he was younger, I didn't follow Randy in his career.
Right.
And as I got older and he got older, I just started like really going, man, he just does everything perfect.
He really
Like,
became more relatable.
yeah. And that's the thing is he became more relatable to me because he's 44. I'm 44. You know, we're around the same age. Cody Rhodes, same thing. I was never this Cody Rhodes fan. And then he left and reinvented himself on the independents. And I went, oh my God, he is smart. Like
Today he's
by
unbelievable today.
far, I
Oh, yeah.
watch and listen to everything he does. And I go, this guy gets it, you know, and those guys are the same. All the guys that get it, I think now, as I got older, I start looking, I go, man, I don't know what I was thinking. Like,
You know what's interesting? You just said that just kind of dawned on me. You're mentioning Randy Orton. You're mentioning Cody Rhodes, whose fathers are absolute
Right.
legends.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe they're going back and looking at what their fathers did and kind of approaching it with a little more of that foundational old school, where when they first came out, if you think about both of them, especially Randy, when he first came out, it was just how much of a dick can I make this character?
Right.
Yeah.
Like just I'm going to be a horrible human being. I'm going to be the guy that takes a lollipop from a kid, licks it, and then puts it on his forehead. Like, I'm just going to be horrible.
Yeah.
But now we look at them and we go, they deliver the lines in a professional way that makes you go, ah. And then they step into that ring and they use foundational talent, where before it was, I'm not a fan of the splash page here, and that's what I'm calling it, is there's splash page wrestling where I can talk on the mic for 20 minutes and then let me wrestle for 5, and I'm only going to do like a frog splash, a moonsault. I'm going to do something so over the top,
Right.
and then you go, oh, it's over, oh my God.
See, and that for me, like, so my trainer, Mike Hollow, up in New Hampshire, okay, Pro Wrestling Academy training facility. So these guys, like, they want to be able to tell the story in the ring. You know, that's where we do our work. Like, if you're talking about a painter and a canvas, we do our work in the ring.
Right.
And yeah, you could I can talk all day long. I love to talk. I could talk to anybody all day, and anybody will tell you that. But you got to have a little bit of that, but you got to be able to relate that and relay the story so that you get that little bit with it. But at the same time, when you get in the ring, that's where you're laying the whole story out. You know, like you have that little piece, right? You know, with the conversation on a microphone, you might have 2 guys, little promo, but it's 20 minutes, and then to go out there and do these huge moves, just so you get a reaction from the crowd. Because the move is getting the reaction, not you.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You're not getting the reaction. So anybody can go and do, I mean, not anybody, because I don't do moonsaults, but if you can do one and you do it, the crowd is going to react, you know? And if you can go out and tell a story with doing very little,
That's it.
and you know, and just be able to piece those things together and realize, like, it's funny because we were saying about the heel and the baby face, and I go back to Orton again because I've just been watching a lot of him lately. And you see, like, people like him now, and not because maybe he's necessarily a baby face, but he's having fun.
Yeah.
You can
And
tell.
he's doing what he wants. I watched a match where he gets up for the 10 punch in the corner. And I think it was like 8 or 9. He just looks down and gives a thumb to the eye. The place went crazy. Now, if you look back to the 80s, that's a heel tactic.
100%.
But he just did it so perfectly that he was boom, boom, boom. They hit like 8 or 9. The crowd's counting. He stops for a minute and he looks and he goes, boom, just sticks a thumb in his eye. And I thought that was genius. I was like, that is absolutely the coolest thing I've ever seen. He knew he could do that and still not get booed.
Right. Because you know what it is? Also, just as I'm hearing you say, he still has heel roots.
Right.
So those roots get to come in and go,
Right.
Let me just go ahead.
Right.
No, that's a see, I love it. So Rondo, when's the next time somebody can see you in the ring?
Actually, so this is great because
Take one.
next Friday, October 18th, Latham, World of Hurt. It's a paid show. It's free intermission. Anybody can come.
Nice.
It's at the plaza with Dick's Sporting Goods
Okay, yeah,
and
I know.
Ollie's. So I'm going to be wrestling Enzo on that show.
Enzo Mori?
Yes. So it's going to be next Friday, 6:00. I think the meet and greet starts at 5. And I can't wait. I do have a response because Enzo did have some things to say about me.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. So
You need to cut a promo
I'm
right
looking
now.
forward to getting into the ring with him.
I mean, if you need to cut a promo right now, man.
I mean, I got out of my car. I got out of the gym and I get to my car and people are messaging me. Do you see what Enzo said? It's all over, Instagram and everything. So I go and I watch it. And I mean, I tried to watch it, but everything that he was saying was just, it was like, for one, I couldn't get over the fact that he looked like the Cowardly Lion from a high school rendition of the Wizard of Oz. But with what and then to top it off, he sounds like he's got the brains of the Scarecrow from it.
Oh,
So I said,
like when he smiles, his heart slows down. It's just too much activity all at
So,
once.
I mean, but I can't take anything away from him. He's done a lot of stuff. So I mean, I'm definitely not taking it lightly. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really happy that I get to have this opportunity with him, and we'll just see. Maybe when everything's all done and I'm standing there and I'm getting my hand raised, maybe he'll have a different.
So does the match have a name? Like is this like has it been named? I mean, because when I hear Rondo and Enzo, as a kid from East Baltimore where I grew up, we might have called it like that, the battle for the lasagna or something like that. Rondo versus Enzo.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he's from Jersey, so
He's definitely.
yeah, he's from Jersey. So I mean, maybe he'll after this he'll go down work on the Jersey Shore printing some T-shirts.
That's what you should do. At the end, loser has to wear the other's T-shirt.
That's
I love that.
good.
Like,
That's a pretty good idea.
and cut a promo for the other.
Yeah,
Like there you go. Like he's got to run around with a Rondo shirt on, cutting promos, selling tickets to your next match.
yeah, right.
Even better.
Right. So after that, though, I will be the 25th is St. Albans, Vermont for World of Hurt.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's been announced yet, but I'm going to announce it right now.
Now.
So it's going to be me and Fox Vineyard for the World of Hurt world title.
Oh, you're going for
Yeah, and the main event up in St.
I think you can
Albans.
take Fox. Fox has been on the show a couple of times.
I know Fox really well. I know I can take Fox.
I mean, I think you can take him.
Yeah,
Just take his sunglasses away from him.
he'll cry if I do that.
It's like his kryptonite.
Yeah, he'll cry if I do that.
He's not paying
He
attention
made
to
me
any of this.
last night he made me go over and get his his sunglasses got knocked out of the ring and fell outside somewhere.
Oh my god.
And he came back after it. He goes, "Oh, can you go find those? I think that they're by the commentary." So I had to sneak out around back and I yelled to the commentary.
He needs a lot of help. He needs a lot of help.
He does, but that's all right though. I mean, I love Fox. We've been a tag team. We were the Infinite. We were a tag team. We traveled together a lot. We've stayed in the hotels and we played Nintendo at 2:00 in the morning. Stayed up till 2:00.
You're not a Waterfleet guy, are you?
No.
Are you? You're not local though, right?
No, I live in Pittsfield now.
Okay. Over in Mass.
Yeah, over in Mass. And so right now I'm the current XWA champion, which he runs bi-monthly in Pittsfield.
Nice.
Which is really cool because like up until I came back to wrestling, I had never wrestled in my hometown. And that was how I actually got back into wrestling. Was I had been in a ring in 5-6 years and I was in Pittsfield and Shane Alden was running a World of Hurt show in Pittsfield and people say, "Oh, you used to do that, didn't you?" I say, "Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore."
Do you know? You know Shane Fair?
Shane
Fair? Yeah.
I might if I saw a picture.
See, this is why I love doing this stuff, folks, because when you realize that how many of these guys,
I know. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people I know from all over. It's kind of crazy. Sometimes I go places and I'm scared. Like, so here's a quick one. It's funny. I walked in the building today and the security guard that was at the door to let us in,
Sean.
Raj,
Okay.
he remembered me from when he was backstage security at Raw, and he goes, "I remember you," and I said, "You're not gonna believe it, but I remember you too." And it's just crazy when I see how the people that I know, you know.
I think he's got 85, 90 hours just in the car with me.
He does. What promotion does he do?
Living the dream, you know? Events like this are great. I'm working out, seeing all these guys.
He is.
Over the years, seeing new guys.
This is the one that Shane promotes.
No, I don't think I've ever.
He always wears the white gloves.
No, I don't think I have ever met him.
Great dude. They did the show at the Armory 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just before this, that was their promotion.
Oh, okay.
They came up and set that up, and he was the ring announcer. Got a lot of good talent out that one.
Yeah. Now, where are they based out of?
They're down in the city, I believe.
Down in the city.
Yeah, they're down that way. There's a picture of them right there.
Okay.
Yeah, real absolutely good dude. But yeah, he's down that way. But yeah, see, that's why I say that's one of the things I've loved about
Because I
meeting more of
also-
the
well, for me-
indie wrestling guys.
Yeah, for me too is you know, I was born in Pittsfield and raised in Pittsfield and lived here, but I lived in Boston, I lived in Tampa. So when I lived in Tampa, I got to meet a ton of, you know, a whole new batch of wrestlers down there, you know, and I got back into it down in Florida. And that was at the time though when FCW was down there as the developmental. It was before they built the performance center and everything. So then when FCW left and they moved over to Orlando with the performance center, but I worked with, you know, got to meet and work with a ton of those guys that I'm friends with a lot of guys who were under contract with FCW from England and you know, all over that have come over here and they've stayed. And, so I've been able to meet and work with a ton of great people, you know, like there's really nobody there isn't anybody I dislike in professional wrestling, honestly, which is kind of weird. I mean, I'm not friends with everybody, but you know, I think we
You
all
just haven't had anybody where you're like, you're a pure dick and stay away.
yeah. I don't think I've really ever, you know, like I said, I mean, when Shane had me come back to work for World of Hurt and do my show in my hometown, I told him, I haven't been in a ring in like 5-6 years, man. I don't want to do anything. I said, I'll do like a battle royal or something so people can come. He says, no, you're going to have a match.
Like a real legit
Yeah.
match. Like,
And so I was, all right. And then once I got back into that, it just seemed to like, and that was the day after my 40th birthday. So I had gotten back in the ring the day after my 40th birthday. And then within the next 2 years, I'm getting invited. I'm at Raw and SmackDown and Survivor
you
Series
got a
and
good look, brother.
Backlash and thank you. And Backlash and just all these places. And it's like, you know, man, even if that just ends tomorrow, like I've gotten to be and do so many things that are so cool. And being here for this, like this is another thing. Like who gets to like you get invited to something like this? It's like I said, you're watching and you're seeing guys that you grew up watching
Absolutely.
and everything.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend Tammy, we got to travel with Gangrel for a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
We got to travel with Bushwhacker Luke. I mean,
He's an interesting guy.
he's a great guy, man. He's great.
He
And so I see those type of things that, like, you know, you don't really notice it until you actually stop and look back.
Yes.
You know, every so often I kind of get to where I'm like, man, I feel like I'm stuck. Like nothing's moving forward. Nothing's good. We're doing the same stuff, right?
right.
But then when you stop and you look back and you go, oh, I did that. Oh, you're right. I did that.
Yeah.
You know, you start looking back at those things. You're like, man, I can't complain about anything that I've gotten to do, you know? And so I've having fun. You know, I go up, New Hampshire has got a great wrestling school up there. And Scott Reed and Mike Hollow, and those guys are fantastic to work with. They've gotten a bunch of people that are coming from there that are just extremely talented, learning the fundamentals and breaking down like how to tell a story without doing those moonsaults and all that stuff, you know. And that's what Mike is big on, is like you should be able to go out there and you know, the old adage is it's less is always more.
Yeah.
So you go out and you do that kind of stuff, and he's big on that stuff. And so going back to training with him and doing those fundamentals and building that solid block that like you lose.
Yeah.
That's
You
amazing.
know? Like I go back now and I'm been training up with him. Probably I go up as often as I can. I usually go up and stay like 2 days, 3 days, and put in the work and practice, and we do all that stuff. But it's just listening to him and absorbing everything and just watching and learning and like going, this is the stuff I wasn't doing before. You know, like this is the stuff I need to get back to. You know, like, and that's really where it's been the best. You know,
that's what keeps you going and keeps your own self from getting hurt.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is you know, we talk about these big over the top moves and these big things, and they're great. They're splash pages.
Right.
I equate a lot of it to an era. I'm a big comic book fan, but that's my shirt. But I always equate it when the Chromium age of comic books started. Wrestling kind of fed right into it. They kind of go hand,
and
that's it.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand with each other. And when guys like McFarlane were drawing big giant Spider-Man for 2 pages, we also then got the, hey, let me leap off of that Hell in the Cell second story coming through. We got those same things.
And so for me, like I always said, like I'm not gonna do hardcore matches. I'm not gonna do tables and ladders and chairs. But I've done them. Yeah. And I've done them. And when you do them right, they can be just one of my favorite is I wrestled Punk, not CM Punk, but Punk, right?
Okay.
And we did 2 back-to-back nights, and we did a tables match both nights for World of Hurt. And I did 2 tables matches prior to that for World of Hurt with Shane Alden because we were a tag team. I turned on him, and now we had a tables match. But we didn't it wasn't like the focus wasn't the tables, it wasn't chairs. It was our ability to tell what's going on.
It was the talent
and in the ring, and to get to the point to where you finally get to the tables. People have been waiting for it.
Yes.
Now it means something.
Yeah.
We didn't use 4 tables prior.
Right.
We didn't bring them in. We left that table in the corner of the building until it was time to get that table.
Right.
And that's what Punk and I did. And Punk and I had one in St. Albans, and it was an absolute one of my favorite matches. Like it was one of my favorite matches. Like working with him, we just looked and we looked at the crowd, and the crowd was packed.
See, I love this. See, that's what Bob and I were talking about that. Brian and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
You use the gimmick
Right.
at the end.
At the very end.
Not the whole match was the gimmick.
So it was great. We had his son was our ref for that match. Right. So that was really cool. And we get to we had, kind of said like, well, I don't know. We'll just figure out as we go, I guess. I'm standing there looking out at the curtain, looking through, and the crowd it's like 400 people, right? And this jam from wall to the ring, right? And I'm like, I don't know if we can do half the stuff we wanted to do. Like, we're gonna have to stay. And Punk says, I said, no, listen. I said, let's just see what happens. I said, throw everything out that we thought about. I said, and let's just see what happens. And my girlfriend Tammy's texted me, and she's going, you can't, there's like no room to stand out here. Like and I'm like, don't worry about it. We went out there.
People moved.
And well, not only did they move, but I think we did like 18 minutes, and it was like very little, but we told and people, if I watched it, nobody sat down for that whole match.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nobody sat down for that whole match. And when I finally put Punk through that table at the end, like they were ready for it.
Yes.
And that place went nuts.
See, that's awesome.
And that was probably the best I felt so good coming back. I go, so yeah, I said we was never going to do hardcore matches because I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want to. But I didn't do a hardcore match. I said, we just told a great story and involved all these people, and they felt what we were doing.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say like that for me as a older wrestling fan, somebody who enjoys, when I try to turn on today and watch the stuff that's out there, I get like 5 minutes into it, 10 minutes into it, and I'm like, all right,
It's like
I'm done with this,
Right.
Yeah. And it was hard too, is because I never really watched AEW either.
Right.
I've watched it, but like at the same time, like I feel like my whole thing is I've watched WWE for so long, and I'm just like,
You're committed.
I'm committed to
Yeah.
that product. And then when I started doing stuff for WWE, like
You were really
I was
invested.
really invested.
Well, you
in-
probably look at it now and you see stuff like, oh, that's Dave. Oh man,
Yeah.
they got
Yeah.
Dave standing over there
Yeah.
as a security guard today. Wonder if he's getting punched in the forehead. Like
Right.
you see it in a different light. I get that completely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's cool because I do, a lot of people recognize, they'll say, saw you, like I got kicked by Rhea Ripley one time, right? And it was really cool. But like, you get all those things where that happens and it's like people see it. And, I think the whole thing is it kind of was really, Triple H said it, I think, best when it was on the media press conference after one of the pay-per-views. And like somebody had asked him about like, why do we see these security guards? And he had a great answer for it. I don't really remember, but you can look it up and you listen to his answer. And he was like, it was spot on perfect the way he answered that question to give you that knowledge, but not take away from
Right.
what's
Right.
going on, and I think that's why you've seen a lot more. If you watch recently, like there's a lot
Yeah.
more guys that are doing more interaction as security as these things. Like, I was on with Braun Strowman a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
like where I was
That's a
just a
big dude.
trainer. Oh
My God,
God, he
that's a-
was huge.
That's a
I can't
monstrously
believe,
human
like,
right there.
like I've seen him up close, but like I was in that segment where I was the trainer that came out to check on him when he got splashed on the car and rolled off.
Oh yes.
And I'm like kneeling down next to him. I go, he's just huge.
So many, many, many moons ago, I was still in the Marine Corps, and we were doing like one of our we call them fruit stands, where we set up stuff and people could come out and like do pull-up challenges and stuff like that. And when the match was over with, I was in uniform. So WWE does a great thing for military. If you're in uniform and you show up to the match, free ticket, just come on in.
Yep.
So it was here. I was up top, sitting down, just no big deal. All of a sudden, some guy comes up and goes, "Come with me." And I had one of my sons with me. Took us 2 rows from the ring. So we sat down, we watched all the matches. I don't even remember all the matches, but we stayed for the dark match. I'm always a big fan of the dark match. And for folks, if you don't know what the dark match is, after the television side goes off, there's always like a match or two.
Like a
afterward.
big main event.
Yeah, like it's really cool.
So a lot of times now I see is like a lot of it is if you're at SmackDown, the dark match is going to be 2 stars from Raw. If you're at
oh really?
not all the time,
But it's
like,
something like along those lines.
Yeah.
So I got, because I was in uniform, Batista shook my hand.
Yeah.
Now listen, 20 years in the Marine Corps, I've met a lot of big dudes.
He was a big dude though.
I've never in my life shook hands with somebody that hands were so big that when he shook my hand, I was like, yeah, he can hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, and I was look, man, I was in good shape. I was tapped. He shook my hand. And I was like, he swallowed my hand. He's a big boy.
But that's the thing is like, with all the internet and the podcast and everything and the meet and greets and all this stuff nowadays, like, they have pulled the curtain back a little bit. And
we talked about
but
that.
like it is not like, it's not fake. Like what we do is like,
It's scripted.
It's not, it's like, we know who, what we have stories. We tell stories and we need those stories to be told in a certain way. But the stuff that we do to tell those stories,
that's real.
you want to come help me get out of bed in the morning sometimes and ask me if it's fake, like that's the thing. Like, and it gets such a bad rap. Like, you hear people say that, like, why could you watch that fake stuff? Or why would you want to do it? It's like, listen, it's not fake, man.
Right.
Like, you get hurt.
Like, I mean,
You can't fake gravity.
I don't want to sound
like,
morbid, but ask Owen Hart if it was fake.
I was just about to mention
But
that.
I mean, you can't fake gravity, like
Right.
when you got somebody coming down on you that's, from 10 feet in the air and he
Right.
weighs, 100 pounds more than you, you're going to feel it.
Yeah. But it's like any type of stunt work. You know what your process
you try to limit
the damage.
you try to like limit the chance of you getting hurt. And that's basically like, that's why I still go to practice. That's why
You have to.
when people say that they don't go to practice anymore, They don't need it. I'm like, are you kidding
You
me?
think you're Allen Iverson?
Yeah, you think that you practice. What's practice?
What's practice?
Because if you watch anything Kobe ever said, Kobe practiced more than anybody, even when he was the best.
Look, like I don't want to seem bad. I have to check something, but that's like this new quarterback from the Commanders. Have you seen this kid?
No.
So the Commanders have a new quarterback, and I can't think of his name at this moment, but they talk about this kid is at the facility at 5:00 in the morning. He's in the facility and he's practicing. He's watching game film by 6:00. He's watching game film when the coaches are showing up.
Yeah.
It's a skill set. You guys are in that same aspect.
And I love practice because practice, I'm allowed to screw up.
Right.
Practice.
Yeah, nobody knows that.
Yeah. I mean, practice, I can go and have fun and try new things and do things. And I'm allowed to be
1,000%.
And when I look at stuff like that, when it comes about like practice and even like you said, watching game, I'm always watching something. So we were in the car the other day and my girlfriend and I were traveling somewhere and we were quiet. It was like nobody was talking for like 10 minutes. And the phone rang. And it was Shane Alden from World of Hurt. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing, brother?" And I said, "I was just thinking about what I could do for like Enzo." And so she looked at me and she goes, "Is that all that ever goes through your head? Is like
You're that meme where the girl's like the girl and the guy are back to back. And she's like, I know he's thinking of another woman.
No.
And you're over there going like, so I could probably
do
leg drag.
good right here. Like maybe he'll be down to do this. Or let me like take a look at.
Yeah.
That's all I think about. That's all that. And it really is like it's nonstop. Like when I wake up in the morning, it's like right till the end of the day. Like there's most of the time I'm thinking of ways to either improve or what I could do to improve or what I could say or how would this sound or how would this look if I did this or like how could I get that done and still look like maybe I should do this for gear because it'll be something that's kind of like one of my favorite wrestlers. So I just did that. I just got for the main event for me and Fox and I got new gear made and I don't know why I thought about doing it, but I just did. And I saw the Macho Man pink trunks with the stars, the white stars.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, but what if? I just got new black and yellow boots, right? So I've been wearing black and yellow. And I was like, what if I do yellow trunks with black stars? And I do bikers a little so that they're not like the complete trunks. So I did a little bit of that. And I said, it'll be like, if you know wrestling, you'll know.
Yeah.
Right. But like, if you don't, like, then,
I got to do something here. Brian, I'm going to take your headphones off for a second. I need you to go on the other side of the camera for a second, Brian. I need your help for a second here. I'm going to do something here for a second. I've never done this before. Brian? All right. Fox?
Oh, yeah, that
Fox?
I knew you were going to do that.
You know it's coming. All right, Fox. Fox, I need you here for a minute. Brian, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
I might.
All right, this is important right now, Fox.
I'm in the middle of a sale. That's important.
Listen to me.
That's all he worries about. Is money.
That's what Rondo was saying here. Is
all he cares about.
That's all you care about is your merchandise, and that your talent just isn't there.
He should learn how to sell.
Here you go, Brian. I need you to go ahead and take this camera and go ahead and make sure you get this all in here.
My cool hair out.
So that you can go ahead and you got a little screen right here.
Yellow and large.
There's your screen.
Can you get his big head in the screen? Can you get his big head in the shot?
Hold on a sec here. So
But he's not even going to put the head.
he's not even going to put the headphones on.
Enjoy.
I don't know, Rondo. I don't know if he really even is taking the match seriously.
I don't think he is.
Like
He
he's
doesn't
more
take
concerned
anything
about
seriously.
He's more concerned about merchandise than taking your match seriously. I mean, you said it's a championship match. It's for the belt.
World of Hurt.
World of Hurt for the belt.
Am I even on camera?
You're
Yeah,
on
when you
camera
put the
right now.
headphones on.
Jesus.
Like I'm curious here. Like, now he's got
Too strong to get out of this jacket.
so I'm curious. I mean,
George?
and if I need to move at some point, I need to know.
The fire drill.
About 30 minutes left in the event. If you haven't checked out the museum, make sure you do. We are going to close up here at 3 p.m. sharp, so make sure.
Good. I have a family reunion to get to where I can sell more money.
Yeah.
So folks, if you didn't realize it, we've got Rondo on, we've got Fox Vineyard on. I might even just move. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move my camera this way
Okay.
so I can get get it swapped around here. Actually, take that camera, Brian. Bring it over
Turn
here. Bring that camera over
Do you want me to
here.
move to this chair?
No,
Can I just sit over there like a normal person
No,
would?
because this is supposed to be cutting a promo. What are you doing? So,
What do
so
you mean? I can't. I'm looking at nobody.
oh my God,
I'm. This is. I can't even see the myself.
come on over here. So you guys got a heavyweight. Is it the world championship belt?
Well,
coming
it's
up.
not defended over the world, so no.
When are you beating him? When are you winning this?
2 Fridays from now.
Two
This is
Fridays.
real.
In 2 Fridays from now. What do you got to say about this? I mean, he's already said that you're more concerned, Fox, about selling your merch
Yes,
than
I have
selling
to
this
feed
match.
my family. I got kids.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
don't have kids.
Cats. I'm okay.
You have chats, yeah.
My bad. I spelt it wrong.
so I mean, what's your feelings? I mean, like how long before you can put? Are you going to be able to take Rondo? I mean,
First of all,
I mean,
his
he's
name
got
is
WD
Rando.
Rando.
So
You're
that's how
Rando.
important you are as a competitor, where the host doesn't even know your name.
Don't
This
they
is
call
not
you
Cheers.
Fox
He
Vineyard?
doesn't even know his name.
They call you Fox Vineyard. Some of your your big
I
fans.
do. I call you Fox Vineyard.
Yeah, like a normal person would say my name correctly.
I don't say any. Look,
Rindo.
listen, if you've ever
Rambo.
watched my show, I say no one's name correctly.
Rambo.
I've never been able to get one.
Rombo. Romboloni and cheese.
So what's the deal? I mean,
Goofball.
do you have the belt? It's your belt, right?
I have a belt.
Who's? I mean, so you're trying to take his?
No.
Well, yeah, he's afraid to put his on the line.
That's not that. It's a different promotion. It's not sanctioned.
Exactly. It
You
doesn't
know that.
matter. You're a professional wrestler. You should be
Not up
defending
to
your
me.
championship all the time,
It's
no
not
matter
up to
where
me.
it is. I'll have Seth come down here and
Wait,
put a
what's-
walkable Bluetooth speaker in your face and
Wait a
tell
sec.
you what's up.
I think we could prelim this match if we
No.
can go.
They're not.
Can you ask Seth?
No, don't bring him
Can,
down.
can you ask Seth?
Don't
for,
bring him down.
for the thumb wrestling?
No.
Oh, so we're gonna. Oh,
Can you ask Seth for the thumb wrestling belt?
He's gonna want
I
to get
mean-
paid for that.
I don't think
probably
so.
is.
But
Now he's gonna take over.
I mean,
Seth,
it's
Seth,
just
I'll
done.
do it.
Seth, could you? Hey, Seth, do you have?
They're busy.
Do you have it?
They're busy.
Oh no, are you? Wait, the only time I can. Well, I mean, what's your concern with taking him on right now?
Let me
For the-
work my thumb
for the
out by
thumb match.
swiping on the
I mean-
on the daters.
I mean, are you concerned about this? What do you?
I'm working the thumb out.
I mean, Rando. What do you think? I
My
mean, are you
ear
ready?
itches.
Are you ready?
I'm
for,
sure that a thumb war would be.
I mean, I think that's. I mean, this is the official home International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Is the home of the first ever.
Thumb
wrestling ring.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen the ring?
I have one. Yes.
Oh, you have
do
one
have
of the rings.
I have a custom.
See, it's
one, yeah.
it's an unfair contest.
So I don't.
I mean,
I had it custom. It was a custom
I mean-
made ring.
I mean, this is. I mean, we're bringing the ring.
So the ring is.
I mean, we're bringing
I
the
mean-
ring over. Is Rita around?
It's not fair because
Come
he
on.
has his own, and
No,
he's a
put it right there.
and he's a referee.
Put it right
This
here.
is cheating.
going to be refereeing this though.
So
Come,
now I have to walk over to the original spot that I was already at in the middle.
Get off.
come over.
I gotta carry this microphone. You see here.
Oh, wait a sec. What did we?
See,
Hold on a sec. We
Who
may
put
have
this
to.
production in problem.
What just happened here?
He thinks he can win.
Camera.
Thinks he's got a shot. Fox is a veteran.
Hold on.
Rando's moving out of the referee spot.
Yeah, he's gonna cheat. Cheat the win.
I'm not going to cheat.
Says, I declare thumb war. This is thumb war. Now remember, gentlemen, if you ring the bell, you are disqualified. We're going with an old school.
It's a little.
That's real.
It's real. Flip that screen towards me for a second.
Wait, what? Wait, now you got a left hand. You got a right hand. The two of you guys. Let's get it. You put your right hand in. You put now. I'm gonna wait. Let me help you out, referee. They are locked and loaded, gentlemen. You know the rules. Left hand on the board, keeping it
Bring the.
stiff at all
Hey, above
times.
the bar.
Keep your
I'm trying
Keep
to.
it stiff at all times.
Can you
Fox.
you see this?
keep your hand on the wood and keep it stiff at all times.
Shalajit.
Now it's a 3
Sigma.
count, or if you ring the bell, you are disqualified. Gentlemen, start the thumb war on your count.
Here's a hitchhiker's thumb. It's weird.
1,
Cheating.
2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war.
All right, Randall's trying to go over and under. We got Fox Spin. You're using the dip and dive.
Double joint,
Dip,
go.
dive, double dip. Wait, 1, over the top. 1. Oh, this is a battle. 1, 2. Oh, it's a 2 count. 1, 2. 2 count. 1.
Falsies. His stomach's so strong.
You think yours would be from all the swiping you
I
do?
know.
1, 2, 3.
Cheated.
I didn't cheat. That's just a preview for next Friday. 1, 2, 3.
And now, where 2 Fridays from now, where's this match happening at?
That's
Somewhere
St.
in
Albans,
Vermont.
right?
Somewhere in Vermont for World of Hurt Wrestling.
I believe it's St. Albans.
St. Albans, World
A
of Hurt.
town around there.
Go see these 2 gentlemen make it happen.
Watch me
As-
wrestle.
I will say he's done a lot of stuff, and I can't wait for the match. I think it's gonna. We've tagged, we've traveled, like I said, so
It's a friendly competition.
it's gonna be a nice. It's gonna get ugly, maybe,
Hold it
maybe.
up just like that.
because he is already.
Hold it just like that, so we can see everybody. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you, Seth. Thank you
Thank
for bringing
you.
the match over. As always, make
you
sure.
buy yourself one because that's how you train. He has one at home. That's
Oh,
why
now
he
you're gonna
won.
say that,
That's
okay?
why he won because he has one at home.
Where could we find one, Seth? If we did want
You
to get
can't find one. It's too good for most of these people at home. We don't want them to have it. You can only. You got to go to.
Look, Dana White could find out
thumbwar.com.
about this, and like the next thing you know, instead of slapping the shit out of each other
Yeah,
and
listen,
causing
We can
concussions.
start having big.
listen. This is
Thumb
most
mania.
people think
Thumb
thumb wrestling is for children. This is thumb war. This is for the big dogs. If you can't run in the big grass, you can't run with the big dogs.
Well, Dan, you just lost though, didn't you, to Dan Severn?
I am the world champion. I'm
I was the special.
I
Guest,
thought-
I was the
I mean,
special guest referee for that. He attacked Dan Severn after he lost.
Thank you.
I thought Dan's got your
Dan
thumb
and I
around
now
his neck.
see eye to eye. Cheated.
He cheated. That's the only reason he beat Dan. All righty, folks. Well, look, we're going to close it up. We've been broadcasting for a couple of hours straight here. Let's thank
Jason.
let's
gonna
thank
take a
our guest.
picture for video.
Let's thank our guests here for hanging out with us. It was an absolute pleasure. As we always say on the show, always say we got our next episode this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Wednesday live. Make sure you come out and join us. And as we always say on the show, be sure to push your stool in.
I'll see you on next Friday.